Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
And we're up. Let's go, Tim Dillon.
How are you, sir?
I'm good now, looking at that coat.
Thank you for having me. It's raccoon. I went to a furrier in New York, and two little old Jewish guys, and they go, "We don't have anything in your size, like a sable or chinchilla or any of the high end." But then one of the little guys goes, "We may have a raccoon in the back," and he and he came out with this, and this is a raccoon, but he was explaining it's from Finland. Like these raccoons are Finnish.
Is that the actual color of their fur? Or did they dye that? Because
I think
it's like a blonde, almost like a grizzly bear.
I think the raccoons in Finland have different colors, perhaps.
Let's Google that.
Yeah,
What does a raccoon look like in Finland? Is that a different animal? What do they call them? They call them dumpster dogs or something like that?
Trash pandas.
Trash pandas, that's it.
You know?
Yeah.
And listen, I like a raccoon too, but I also like fur. I think people should be allowed to wear fur.
Well, it is weird that you're allowed
Yeah.
to kill animals and eat them.
Why do they call it a raccoon dog?
Oh, so it is kind of similar to the coat I have.
I typed in Finland raccoon and it just keeps saying raccoon dog.
Raccoon dog.
See, in Finland they seem to be more tan.
Yeah, that looks like your coat.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like a raccoon. Like if I saw that, I wouldn't say that's a raccoon. I'd be like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
It's kind of got a raccoony face. Like scroll back up to those images. Like that picture up there, that's a raccoony face. This cute creature, that's a raccoony face. But the color of it, I'd be like, what is that?
That one looks a little weird.
That's weird. Yeah. So they call him a raccoon dog?
I just typed in.
Bro, you got a dog coat on. That's rough.
I knew it. I think I got taken advantage of. This wasn't. They kind of looked at each other a few times, and this one didn't even have the liner in. They put the liner in.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a very cheap liner.
Oh.
They put the liner in. I just went in because I was curious about. I don't understand it. I get curious about different things. So these furriers in New York City, a lot of them will kick you out if you don't have an appointment. So one of them just said, "We can't deal with you. You don't have an appointment, go." But then these two guys were nice enough to talk to me a little bit. And I was just asking questions. I'm like, what's the deal? They're like, well, sable is like the top thing. And then they're like, obviously, mink and chinchilla and fox.
Could they make you a custom
Of course,
one your
they
size?
could
So you'd have to
absolutely
order it.
They could absolutely make a custom one, but I wanted something fun to come on here with.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't really even want one of these. So I just want to do like an impulse buy. Just give me something to buy.
Right.
I don't want to think
And
about
you
this.
got the raccoon.
And then the guy goes, "We have a rack." I don't know what it is. It could be a costume.
And that might have been what the Patterson guy wore in the Bigfoot footage.
Yeah, I have no idea what it is, but it is a fun, and it's got that hood. It's got a hood like if you were a rapper or something like this.
Do you know Bill Blumenreich from Boston?
Of course.
Yeah. Bill had a mink coat once.
Yeah.
And he let me try it on. I'm like, let me try that on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's so warm.
It's
He's like,
amazing.
yeah. There's a reason why people like them.
But people get real mad.
Oh yeah, they don't like it. But it's also weird. Like, you're allowed to wear leather.
Right.
Like, what is leather? Leather is everywhere. Everybody wears leather.
It's in
Leather
cars.
is just the fur removed. That's all it is.
Right.
Like
Crocodile scales.
there's a company called Origin, and one of the elk that I shot, we took the hide and had the hide shipped to them. They're going to turn it into boots.
Yeah.
It's good use of leather.
Of course.
But that's normal. Nobody gets freaked out if they see you with leather boots.
Well,
on.
wasn't this
Everybody
the
has leather
entire? I
boots
mean,
on.
you know more than me, but the Native Americans who respected the animals and the environment, it was all about utilizing every part of the animal.
Yeah, they used everything they could, and
Right.
they lived in harmony with them. Like
Yeah.
especially like some of these Native American tribes had these relationships where they were migratory with the animals.
Right.
Like buffalo and the Comanche, they followed them around, man, and they used all their blankets, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Their teepees, everything. Like
So to me, I don't understand where it became so controversial?
Because it's really rich people flaunting that they can go have someone murder a mink for them.
Right.
And you're wearing this thing, and you've got all these diamonds, and you're walking in fabulous. It's imbalanced. It's grossly imbalanced.
To a degree.
You're a rapper with like hundreds in your hands. You're throwing them out.
Sure, but
to the
somehow
crowd.
I look balanced with nature in this in an odd way. I don't even feel like I look rich in this. I look a little crazy.
Well,
I
you
look like
have
a guy
balanced
on
it
the
out.
brink of something, and not a good thing.
It depends on what you like.
It
I would
depends.
look at it. That's a fun guy. My initial reaction when I saw you in, I was like, "This is awesome."
It's interesting because it does seem to me, I understand that people are morally against it, but when you start like, I don't know, throwing paint on people, right?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Red paint. I was in Beverly Hills once. They had like outside of a store, they were like chanting, and they were trying to intimidate people walking in the store. It just feels silly.
I had a girl tell me once, she was upset at the Comedy Store, that I had fur, I had a hoodie with fur around the edges of it. And she just like out of nowhere, I wasn't even talking to her. She's like, something shitty about the fur.
Right.
I go, it's fake. I go, it's fake fur. It's like it's a fucking hoodie.
Right.
And she goes, I don't like what it represents.
What is it? What is wrong with these people? I don't.
This was a long time ago, by the way. This is not like famous me, but I was like, this is such a crazy conversation. Like, it's fake fur. Like,
I don't understand. I understand people that are ethical vegans who say, I don't want any type of animal product ever.
Right.
Okay. I disagree with that, and I think a lot of people on Earth would disagree with that. I think the human race would starve pretty quickly if we couldn't eat any animal product.
yeah, that wouldn't work out well.
It wouldn't work out.
It is also very complicated because the relationship that we used to have with animals, like the animal relationship that you're talking about with the Native Americans, where
Yes.
they had this tribal relationship where they followed these herds around and hunted them expertly. That is so different than going to Jack in the Box.
That's true.
And that's what most of what our meat is coming from, this weird subversion of like the natural way of getting food.
The factory farming.
Yeah, but there's never been a time ever where in human history where people have stuffed so many fucking animals into warehouses and just beheaded them.
But because our population has never been greater.
Right.
It's never been bigger. We've never had more of a burden to feed people.
Right.
And it's unfortunate the way that it happens. I mean, we've all seen like the footage of like the chickens that don't get to walk around. Mm-hmm. That's not good.
Not good. Also, I think that up until fairly recently, like within the last couple 100 years, it was unheard of to not grow your own food.
Right.
I think everybody sort of knew that you had to grow some of your own food or hunt some of your own food.
Well, that's so hard now because how do you do that in Arizona?
You don't.
Right? Like if you live in the
Don't
desert.
unless- I mean, what kind of water rights do you have?
Right? Or if
Can
you're in
you irrigate?
Minnesota and it's freezing.
Right.
So it's just, it becomes difficult to live that. I'm sure that's the ideal way to live. But the modern world it's very hard. People don't have any time.
No.
You know?
No, it's hard. And, imagine what it was like before they had trucks. Imagine like living
crazy.
in Manhattan in January in 1700 and you can't get an apple.
It's insane.
Like there's no fruit. You're not
It's
getting
insane.
any fruit. You're not getting any vegetables.
Well, what's funny is like there's this show on HBO called The Gilded Age, and it's about all these really, like the robber barons, like the industrialists, and like they all had these massive staffs of people that would just make them dinners every night. It was crazy. Like they had entire staffs of like usually Irish chefs and cooks and waiters and everything just to facilitate the meal, the daily meal. Like it was very royal and regal, and they would have people just there cooking for them and making their food, and it's interesting to watch because
the haves and the have-nots back then.
back then it was wild. Like people say it's wild now, and it is wild now because a lot of the haves now can take a spaceship and take a blunt drive around the globe. That's wild.
How much carbon does that burn off into the atmosphere?
I don't know.
I mean, if you want to talk about some of the most ridiculous excesses of carbon use, like
it's
shooting rich people into orbit. That's so
probably
nuts. That must be so much gas.
It's so nuts. But like anything else, right? They'll say, well, it's good for, I guess, it incentivizes people to care about space exploration.
Right.
Because they're going to pay a lot of money to go up there.
Right.
And that money's going to get utilized to discover more things. Who knows if that's...
It's a weird argument.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like... I mean, look, I'm happy that they're exploring space, but I feel like maybe someone should sit down and go, hey, until you guys figure out a better way to get off the fucking ground, let's just
chill.
How are we saying no one should burn carbon fuel? How are we saying that you can't have gas-powered cars in California after 2035?
Yeah.
How are we saying that while we're shooting off these giant fucking metal tubes of jet fuel and lighting it on fire? It's literally burning in the sky.
I think that's the reward when you have $1 billion is you want to think you can leave.
Yeah.
That seems to be the reward. It's these guys going like, we don't have it quite figured out yet, but they're like, God, it might be nice if I could leave.
Oh my God, it would be hell.
It would be tough.
It would be so stupid. The first person that leaves, they're going to fall into, there's a trap. And here's the trap. Just because something's hard to do doesn't mean it's good to do.
Right.
And you could say it's going to be so difficult for us to get to Mars. Right. Also, so difficult for someone to fucking save
for
you.
For a reason.
Yeah. That's not a good place to go.
No.
We have spots in Earth that suck. Go visit those. They can get you out by helicopter if you're lucky.
These people I think there's that fantasy of like seeding other planets with biological DNA.
Yeah.
Carrying on the human race. The idea that the Earth might be past a tipping point. Maybe.
I think we have to realize that time does not give a fuck about the human race.
Right.
Time doesn't care. If we got hit by an asteroid and this whole planet got knocked back down into the Jurassic period again.
Right.
That totally could happen. It's happened before. It's the reason why we're here in the first place, supposedly, right? The Yucatan impact. If that happens again, time doesn't care. Time doesn't care. We care.
Can we do anything to the asteroid now that we're more advanced?
They are slowly but surely being able to recognize where the real problem, supposedly, I believe, is ones that come from too near the sun.
Right.
The problem is the gravity of the sun. I'm sure I'm fucking this up. I'm sorry. I think the gravity of the sun, the mass of the sun is so immense that it's difficult to see objects that are behind it coming towards us. So if something's passing the sun and going towards us, we might not see it until it's too late to do anything about it. And then even if we do see it, there's only a few different methods that they've devised that seem to one of them is you hit it with a surface, like something lands on it. And this changing of the aerodynamics of it, changes its trajectory in some way. And another one is breaking it up. The breaking it up one scares people, though, because they're like, well, what if you break it up into many pieces that you just go to a bunch of different spots on Earth, and it has the same impact, just not in one spot.
Right.
You might actually, maybe it would have landed in the ocean, and most people would survive.
It's amazing that we haven't had a really... and you might know more than I do, but we haven't had a really destructive asteroid impact in a long time.
It's a timeline thing, dude.
Right.
Our timeline is our lifetime, and it's so long for a person, and it's so nothing for space.
Right.
It's so nothing. It literally is nothing.
Right.
Our timeline is 100 years for a human timeline. The Earth is 4 point whatever billion years old. The universe... There's all these arguments now. The universe is even older than 13.7 billion years ago. I'm not really smart enough to understand it. It's something about the forming of the galaxies. They seem to form quicker. That wouldn't be possible if the Earth was only, or if the universe was only 13.7 billion years. But Brian Keating doesn't agree with it, so maybe he's right. I don't know who's right, but it's either way. we're 100 years of nothing. It's so quick. And if we get hit with an asteroid and then everything starts and it's another 65 million years from now until a new form of intelligent life
Right.
arises, the universe doesn't care about that.
No, right. Me saying we haven't had a significant impact is like when your 13-year-old starts talking about Israel and Palestine. Like they just don't. I sound ridiculous because it's literally I've been on the planet 38 years and I'm like, we haven't had anything.
As you get older, you get old enough to realize this hustle. You get, this is a hustle. Like you're pretending like you can do something.
Right.
You're pretending like you're gonna make a life and leave a mark and all. You're just moving.
Right.
And you're gonna be gone, and new people are gonna move into that, and everyone's affecting everybody, and we're all working towards some weird goal.
Right.
And some of it involves rockets and computers, and we're just building wilder and wilder technology. But I don't know if we can escape before something hits. And I have a feeling that's what's happened many times in the past. I think that's the biggest key to the mystery of people.
And you think that we may have gotten to this point
I think we definitely did.
where people were podcasting in ridiculous coats.
Yes.
And then something comes and ruins it.
Yeah.
And then it takes billions of years to get back to that.
Millions.
Millions to get back to that.
Not really millions. I think probably whatever the Egyptians were doing, I think they were the most advanced civilization that ever existed. That's what I think. This is, I'm out of line here for sure. Listen, if you're an archaeologist and you're pulling your hair out, I get it. But I don't think we can do what they did. I think if you just look at it for just the sheer dynamics, the volume of stone that they moved, the precision in which they built it, I really don't think we can do that. Just the symmetry of the faces of the statues is unparalleled, and they're immense. These are monstrously huge, perfectly symmetrical faces.
Right.
Their temples are insanely intricate with 20-ton gigantic stone blocks that were taken from a mountain 500 miles
Right.
away. And no one has any idea how the fuck they got them.
Nobody has any clue.
No guesses.
Right.
There's some guesses about, maybe the river system was different back then. Whatever. How are you
Right.
getting that 50-ton chunk of granite
No
out of
way.
a fucking mountain and moving it down,
insane.
even with modern equipment? How are you getting it over the mountain?
So it seems like
You don't even have roads. What are you
They
doing?
were incredibly advanced
Incredibly advanced.
with math, with science, with technology.
Certainly with geometry. They also had an understanding of the cosmos. They definitely had an understanding of the constellations. And that's one of the reasons why the fringe theory is that the Sphinx is way older than what they have it currently dated at, was like 2,500 BC, which is still crazy old, right?
Right.
But what they think is it's probably older than that, maybe even 10,000 or 30,000 years old. And that at these times in whenever the calendar is aligned properly, whatever the year is, it's like exactly where a lion would be staring the constellation Leo.
That's mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
To think about that stuff.
I don't know if that's true, though. That's a weird one. It's like, how do we know if, like, from the burning of the Library of Alexandria, we lost so much of an understanding of what the Egyptians knew and what they recorded. So there's a lot of weird speculation amongst Egyptologists. Like, they look at they have hieroglyphs that show kings that go back 40,000 years.
Right.
And they look at that as myth.
But
So it gets to a certain
yeah.
time and they decide, okay,
Yeah.
now this is Tutankhamun, this is Ramses.
Are we talking
this is the
about
kings?
biblical times, or even we're predating that?
pre-biblical
So we're really
times.
predating the
Yeah.
biblical times.
If they're correct, if these hieroglyphs are real, instead of like saying that they're myth because they're talking about kings that ruled the earth 40,000 years ago when we decided that those people back then were primitive. But if they're right, and if it only existed in a few places on earth, well, that makes sense.
Right.
That's how it is now. You can go right now. You can go to the Amazon. You see people living like they lived thousands of years ago.
Right.
And then you can see someone here get hit by a car because they're looking at their phone.
That's right.
You know, it's like they're both existing at the same time. I think that's probably always been the case with people. There's always been like people that live in Siberia, these nomadic tribal people that are very content just living the same way they've always lived. And then there's people that live in San Francisco that have people shitting on their street and fucking shooting up in front of them and getting paid.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You've always kind of had that dichotomy of really advanced people and then really, I don't want to use the word primitive, but certainly, these uncontacted tribes and things like that.
Human beings always have inequality.
Yeah, there's always that strata.
There's always something.
Right.
And it's whether it's cultural, whether it's geographical, whether you're trapped on an island, like whatever, you're always going to find somewhere on Earth, someone who's just way beyond like what we think of as like modern society, like what's acceptable, running what. These people have none of that.
Right.
These people they're making their own spears.
Yeah.
They're hunting. They have leaves on their dicks.
They're killing animals out of necessity.
Out of necessity.
Because those animals might kill them.
Yeah.
Right.
They know what leaves to take. Have you ever seen those people, I think the Waranami, is that what they're called? In Guyana. They throw poison in the water.
Have you
kill
gone
all
to
the fish.
Have you gone to Machu Picchu or the Brazil or the Amazon or anything?
The only places that I've been to that are really, I just got back from Greece.
Yeah.
We did Greece this summer. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But you're talking like 2,500 years old. That's, it's like a child compared to the pyramids.
Yeah, it's really amazing antiquity and how old things are.
Yeah.
And then where the line is between what is myth and what is history, and trying to figure that out, which is it's very hard.
I think that even the stuff that we think of as like the cradle of wisdom, like what happened in Greece when they were building the Acropolis and the Parthenon, and when they where democracy came from, I think that is like a rebuilding of civilization. That's what I think. And I think if you can go back in a time machine, I bet if you could get to Egypt 25,000 years ago, I bet you'd be fucking blown away. I bet they had some very bizarre, technologically advanced society that had a different path they went down. So we went down the path of engines and computers, and but that doesn't mean that's the only way to invent technology.
No,
that's just the path that we've been on. If they had figured out some other stuff, they had figured out, if they had hundreds of thousands of years of time to really evolve and become modern humans, which is what we think now. They used to think that people were only around for like 50,000 years, like anatomically modern humans. But now they pushed it back to like 200,000 years ago, 300. It keeps going back further and further and further. So people really did live that long. Think about how quick we went from like 1800 to 2023.
Yeah.
Insane.
It's quick.
But the difference in riding around on a fucking wagon being dragged by an animal, or some stupid boat you had to take across the Atlantic.
Right.
And no one had any idea where the icebergs were.
To now existing, primarily in like, half in and half out of a completely digital universe.
Yes. Half in, half out, connected constantly to your phone.
And every book, like I'm reading a book now called The Dimensions of a Cave, and it's basically about what will things look like when we are more fully on that digital platform? Yeah. Like what constitutes a crime in the digital world? What does war look like when everything's digital?
What happens if something like Grand Theft Auto, if people get prosecuted for beating people up with pipes?
Well, this is what, there's like weird like ethical questions about like when we're living a lot of our lives on these digital platforms.
Right.
What is a crime? What is surveillance when everything's surveillance?
Right.
Right? What are the laws? What are the rules? What are the consequences for breaking them? Can you be cast out of that? Just like the way we debate social media. Now imagine it's even more immersive than social media. It's augmented reality, virtual reality, some form of metaverse, whatever it is. Do we cast you out where you can't participate in this thing that everybody else is participating in? And these are interesting questions because people are saying that we'll probably get there quicker than we think. Yeah. In the space of maybe 10 years or something, they're looking at these programs and platforms and going, oh, there's going to be a lot. Like, that's why the AI battle that they had with Hollywood, it seems ultimately a losing battle. Like, which is, not something that I love, but ultimately it seems like, look at the trailer for the new GTA. It's pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Imagine that even better. It seems like there is going to be a time when we're watching a show of all AI people and enjoying it. And that's just what it is. And maybe we're even feeling like we're involved or immersed in it.
Yeah.
Maybe we're sitting there watching a guy get shot or ran over or watching a hooker get killed. I don't know. But, it's very possible we could be in the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people now talking about
What's this, Jamie?
This showed up on Twitter recently. It's all fake news. A 25-minute news broadcast. All
It's
AI.
fake?
And she's even saying it. It's all generated by AI.
Yeah, so no one's going to know what's real
Like, watch your
anymore.
mouth. Like, that's
Technology enables us to bring you a global perspective 24/7, right from the heart of our AI.
Yeah, we
Hold
make
on,
it up.
let me listen to what they're saying here.
Enables us to bring you a global perspective 24/7, right from the heart of our AI native newsroom. All presented by our team of AI-generated reporters.
Maybe you hear the words artificial intelligence.
Wait, is that a real dude?
no.
No.
I mean,
No way.
it may be at one point was, but that's not a person. This is AI generated movement, talking, blinking, all that.
Oh my God.
Uses AI to give you news the way you want it. Personalized.
I say maybe.
Personalized news. This is so dystopian.
Maybe do AI news, though, because the reality is most people can't do much about the news anyway.
Right.
So AI news, where you just kind of make up stories,
Right.
might be the future. Or you might heavily censor what you want, and people could choose their own news.
Yeah, that's what
People are kind of doing that already.
They're kind of doing that already.
They choose their own news. My aunt chooses her news. In her news, Donald Trump has been running the government for the last 4 years. He speaks to the generals directly. Biden has been dead for a while, which, by the way, that's harder and harder to argue with her about. And in her news, Donald Trump will then come back to the throne. But he's still running anything that she tells us Thanksgiving. Because anything that can happen with China or Russia, Trump's doing the negotiation, not Biden.
Have you seen the Biden ear conspiracy?
No.
The earlobe conspiracy?
But I love it. Already, I love it.
If you
That
look
they
at
put
old
something in his ear.
photos of Biden,
Yeah.
his earlobe hangs down.
Ooh.
As he gets older, his earlobe is connected, which is impossible.
That's odd.
It's impossible. Like your ear doesn't change its position unless you get surgery.
So what do we think?
I think he had a facelift.
Oh, definitely.
100%, right?
Definitely.
Which is, by the way, that doesn't work on guys.
Right.
It doesn't
No, it
make,
doesn't.
It doesn't make you
Doesn't.
look better. It just makes you look weird.
Well,
Your face is
Putin
shiny.
in Russia has different doubles.
He has body doubles.
He has body doubles.
But they 100% can do that. They
Right.
can do that with makeup. Like I've seen videos where a person is talking and it just looks like some weird old man.
Yeah.
And they just grab their face and peel it off. Like there's the makeup they can do is like Hollywood stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff like Rick Baker could do.
Sure.
Like they have like real
No, it's insane.
experts.
I did some dumb cameo in a horror movie, and they made my whole head.
Yeah.
They just made my head. They molded it. It looks exactly like my head, and they cut it off.
Yeah.
The special effects and the ability to do things like that is
Insane.
It's insane.
And they can 3D print things now. The technology is so good, and the materials are so good, and these artists are fucking incredible. They can 100% make you look like a totally different person.
Oh, for
And I
sure.
guarantee you they employ some of those people.
Right.
Like if you were going to have someone and they were like a CIA undercover person going into a terrorist organization, wouldn't you fucking have them dressed differently? Wouldn't you have to give them a
Absolutely.
different face?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, the things that they're doing at DARPA and all of these things are so far from what they had the internet in the 70s, right? They had a version of it.
Did you see this new stealth bomber?
No.
Oh my God! I'll send this to you, Jamie. Hold on a second.
So they're doing stuff that's far beyond our conception right now.
They're doing some wild shit that they're telling us about.
Right.
This is from the Drinkin' Bros podcast. I'm going to send this to you, Jamie.
And this is our new stealth bomber.
Yeah, this thing's insane.
And can if you're rich enough, can you rent it out? You take it up?
No, I don't think it has humans in it.
Damn it.
I think this is one of them jammies where it's only, but it can carry nukes. Did I get it to you, Jamie?
You sent me a different link.
I did send you a different link.
Yeah.
I realized it was some Caitlyn Jenner thing. That's what I was saying.
Caitlyn Jenner's in a stealth bomber.
Instagram is odd. Like sometimes it just changes.
She can fly.
things.
She does fly.
Really?
Caitlyn Jenner flies. She came to my Christmas party in LA and showed everyone her plane.
Wow.
She flies every few days. She flies around. Interesting.
That's a wild hobby.
It's an interesting life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an interesting one.
Don't go on your phone when you're up in the fucking sky.
I bet she is.
I bet she's on the phone.
I bet Caitlyn Jenner's in that plane on her phone.
Probably checking them.
Tweeting about how much she loves Donald Trump. Because that's what she was telling everybody.
Isn't that wild?
At my party, she was going, she goes, nobody's patriotic anymore. I love Trump. And everyone's just like, great, it's fun. She's a fun archetype of person.
Yeah.
We're at the end of
time.
Time.
Yeah, check this fucking thing out.
This is crazy.
So check this thing out. This thing, it carries, I think, 4 nukes or 6 nukes.
There's an animation here. Hold on, let me find that.
This is amazing.
Yeah. But the thing
When
is,
did the
in that
original
link that I
stealth
sent
come
you,
out?
I know.
put the link because I want to play that because he describes all the things it does in terms of jamming radar. It's crazy what this thing
Was
can
the
do.
first stealth in like the 80s or the 90s?
I want to say the 90s. Does that make sense, Jamie? Yeah, play.
Essentially 100% radar proof. It cannot be detected except for with your eyeballs.
This one right here? Holy shit. It looks sexy as fuck.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. So it has, it is able to analyze algorithmically the enemy's radar package, like how they're able to determine radar, and then it can fucking instantaneously send that information, not just radar, but so it can instantaneously detect the enemy's radar patterns. It can detect all of their troop placements, their aircraft carrier placements, their submarine placements with ground penetrating radar, and their armor placements, and immediately send a graphic of that back to every fucking other friendly force in the workspace, or I'm sorry, in the battle space, instantaneously. One of these.
Yeah.
And just fly over an area undetected, and be like, all right, beep, 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 beep,
Yep.
beep, beep, and this shit just starts popping up. It also can carry 6 fucking nukes. This aircraft is essentially 100% radar proof.
Jesus.
Well, we need it.
How wild is that?
Well, we need it.
That's
We're heading
wild.
into perilous times, and
An
we need
invisible-
something that can carry 6 nukes.
An invisible 6 nuke drone
Right.
that can detect everything instantaneously.
Yeah, but China's got it, and
You think
Russia's
they have
got it.
that?
They have good stuff over there.
I wonder
That's
if
why
they have
we
that
gotta
good,
have
though.
that, right?
I think that might be the top of the food chain.
We'll see. We'll see.
That might be the
Don't
Tesla
count out the
Plaid.
Chinese.
I wouldn't count them out.
I
but-
wouldn't count them out.
Well, they do a really good job of siphoning information that they don't.
Oh, they
innovate.
might have stolen that fucker years ago. Corporate espionage.
They're so good
China's
at that.
They're so good at it.
Well, also we let them in, and we let them buy companies.
Oh yeah.
which is wild.
So DeSantis, by the way, which I think this is good. He's basically, and the real estate lobby's fighting him. He went out in Florida. He's like, we got to make it harder for Chinese nationals to just buy property here.
Right.
And then the real estate lobby's like, hey man, you're fucking up a good thing.
Yeah.
We like making money. We like earning commission. And China's a huge buyer of U.S. real estate. So all these real estate people, the BlackRocks, are coming at DeSantis and going, hey, we can't have this. You have to let the Chinese play.
It's real weird. Like they can buy property, like a certain amount of property here in areas that were like, hey, isn't that kind of close to a military base? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that close to
Right.
infrastructure?
Well,
Like,
they bought the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City, which is where the president used to stay every time he went to New York. They bought it. Now he stays at the New York Palace.
Yeah.
But it was just a fun thing to do. They were like, oh, where does the president stay?
let's buy that.
We're going to own that. And they own it. And they just flipped it to condos. They don't care. So the thing is, so much of these cities, Miami, New York, LA, even Austin now, a lot of this real estate investment is foreign. People that are laundering money, washing money, hiding money.
Yeah.
And that's why the prices of real estate keep going up no matter what happens. Rates go up to 8%. It's still more money.
A friend of mine was telling me about this apartment building he lives in Manhattan.
Yeah.
That it's just filled with empty apartments.
Oh.
Like super expensive.
Ton of them.
Empty apartments. And it's just like Russian billionaires buy them up. And
it's just Russian fertilizer magnates and Chinese amusement park tycoons. Just weird configurations of humanity.
I wonder what percentage of those giant luxury apartments that are purchased are unoccupied.
Tons of them. Tons of them.
It's wild,
Tons of them are. And people just stash money there in case the government in their country decides to get cute.
Right.
And I'd love some of that, by the way. And that's what happens. So when you walk around New York City, you look at all these buildings, right? And here's what you see. Cheers. No, you'll see 3 lights on.
Yeah.
You'll see weird. 3 lights on in this massive $1 billion building.
Yeah.
Cost of construction was $1 billion, and there's 5 people home. Where's everybody else? Where are they? Are they at dinner? No, it was this scam. It's a vertical money laundering scheme. When I understood, because I was a tour guide in New York, and I used to ask all these questions all the time, I go, so what happens? Did the Chinese people come here, and they go, well, we love Central Park, and they want to live there, and they go, yeah, but they spend maybe a few weeks a year. That's it. Some of them spend nothing. And a lot of foreign buyers will not just buy 1 apartment. They'll buy 10.
Jeez.
And they'll just stash their money. They'll have a floor of a building. Maybe they'll throw a kid in at NYU and go, you go become non-binary and disgrace us. I'm going to stay home and run a business. You go to New York, become non-binary, have your moment, have your time. And we're going to sit back in China and chill. But a lot of times these things are completely empty. It's criminality.
It's wild that it's a good method to move money around, though. It's really smart.
Oh, it's really smart. And it's great because real estate is perfect to launder money. You can buy it with a shell corp. You don't have to buy it under your name.
Right.
You can buy it under that. And by the way, you can disguise that shell corp with 100 other shell corps so that like nobody's going to go through. It's like a pad where they'd have to keep flipping pages to find the actual owner of the actual company.
Well, wasn't this part of the problem with the Ukraine stuff?
Oh, yeah.
That was part of the problem.
I don't know what you
Biden.
mean, but I am agreeing.
With
no, but Hunter Biden, yeah.
And the family. There was a bunch of shell corps that were involved in that.
Yeah. Well, Hunter Biden's an attorney, number one, and he did some financial investments, but he certainly had a very healthy budget for fun. And now he had a budget for extracurricular activities. And where does that come from? It's a slush fund that comes from a lot of shady dealings. This guy had no expertise in energy. He was he's a consultant for Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company. And now we've given the Ukraine, I don't know what it is. It's an insane amount of money.
I think the last count was, is it $170 billion? How much money have we given to Ukraine?
And it's just interesting that that's the country that our president's son was having his little internship.
It's just a coincidence, dude.
I know.
Sometimes coincidences happen.
But we can't, you know what it is? It's like, I watch the worst people in the world, the people at Beverly Hills who like scream at valets and yell at their nannies, and they're not humanitarians.
Right.
Overnight, they all had Ukrainian flags.
Yeah.
It was interesting. They don't care about Darfur, the Sudan, anything going on in Africa. They don't care about any of the problems happening in countries like Yemen, but they all immediately decided, almost overnight, that the only humanitarian crisis worth caring about was the Ukraine.
Well, when baseball season's over, you start paying attention to football.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what it is. It's sports for dorks. Just how much aid has the U.S. sent to Ukraine? Total $75.4 billion. I think
there's more.
I think that's
I was seeing more too, but this is a few
And you
things
know how much of this aid
together.
disappears?
First of all, isn't it funny that we're saying $75 billion? I think it's more.
We're
that's a
it's
low
nothing.
number. That's
but how
nothing.
much of this aid disappears off the backs of trucks,
113
Right. Oh, it's
there.
113
But
billion.
I don't know. That's his past president.
And by the way,
future.
you could start looking into how much of it is just evaporated, how much of that money's disappeared, where it went.
Well, there was this one story about this one guy who had pilfered off $1 billion, and they didn't even arrest him. They just made him resign.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that story about?
Yeah.
Like, I read the headline. I was like, I'm going to get to that eventually.
Right.
Did you see that story, Jamie?
Whenever you're dispersing money in a war, it's always strange because you have to pay people off.
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect place for things to disappear, money-wise.
One of my favorite moments during all this was the New York Times going after Candace Owens.
Oh, sure.
Did you see that?
For what they had reported.
They
the
said
best.
to her, "What evidence do you have that Ukraine is corrupt?"
it's corrupt.
And she said, "Your fucking
Your
newspaper."
article,
And
yeah.
she starts from just a couple of years ago.
Well, it's like...
It was like 2017 or 18
there was
or
a
something
million
like that.
Vice documentaries about how Ukraine was the home of white nationalism. The thing we were all, supposedly, this was the greatest threat to human civilization.
Right.
And we were told that every single day. This country, the Ukraine, was a white nationalist country that had lots of these groups that fomented terror and they were going to start working with the white nationalist groups in America. And that's what, there was articles written about that. There were documentaries about that. All of that went out the window.
Do you remember when?
Right out the window.
Who was it? Was it Jon Stewart that gave that dude the award? And
He
had
gave him
Nazi
a medal.
tattoo?
Yeah.
and,
I'm sure Stewart doesn't even know. It's like, this guy's a
he didn't
hero.
know.
You pin something on him. But they're avowed neo-Nazis in that country. They have SS tattoos. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's not everybody, but
Right.
that Azov battalion is a huge force, And
That's so wild.
it's wild. And it's one of the reasons people think Zelensky, who's going to sign those Minsk Accords and end this little civil war issue they had going on in the northern province in Donbass, he didn't sign any of that. People think, and people have, pontificated that either those hardliners in the Ukrainian government and military go, you sign this, we'll kill you. Like if you use or the U.S. State Department was like, no. You don't sign this. You keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, God.
And if there is a war, we have your back.
Oh, my God.
And this is a well-known fact that everybody wanted some type of agreement before there was a war with these northern Russian-speaking regions and the government of Ukraine, so that there was autonomy to a certain degree, that they could speak the language, that they could have political parties. And I'm not saying that Russia is like, even though I am spiritually Russian. Someone told me that, and I have a Russian aesthetic, but that's not why I'm saying this. I'm just saying the facts are all there, and we've had this long, bloody war in which every time this guy wants to negotiate or thinks about, we go, don't, keep going, keep fighting. We got you. And then, Nikki Haley, all these people go, no, it's civilizational. By the way, nothing's regional. Everything's civilizational. Israel, Palestine, civilizational. It's odd. It's like, but wait a minute. That's been a regional conflict forever. Since 1946. They go, no, it's about our values. It's about our values. So we got to send them billions of dollars, and we might have to get involved because it's about our value. And you start going, wait a minute, it's about our values in northern Ukraine? So all of these little, and I'm not saying they're little, but all of these conflicts, we can't not get involved. We can't in some way. We have to be involved. We have to fund them. We have to give weapons because we convince everybody that all of these conflicts are a big battle for the future of civilization. And the next step is Putin's going to steamroll Vermont. He's coming to Vermont. You let him do what he's doing in the Ukraine, he's going to steamroll. He's coming to Aspen. You want to see what happens when Russia owns Aspen? And nobody thinks logically, like, maybe we like war. Maybe we just like having a constant business.
Maybe Eisenhower was right.
Yeah.
When Eisenhower warned people when he was leaving office, I mean, that should be required listening to anybody that's confused as to why we're doing certain things.
Right.
They're making a lot of money right now. And if they can keep this rolling.
Yeah. They're making great money. And I'm not making any of it from that.
And if you could have some sort
Cut
of a
me
motivation,
in.
you get some sort of a motivation, like you're trying to save civilization.
Oh, always.
You can justify so
Oh,
much.
now, notice that when Saudi Arabia is killing Yemenis, it's not civilizational. That's not civilizational. But Ukraine, Russia is. And anything that goes on in Israel and Palestine is. But when the country of Yemen is being starved out, bombed, and killed with money and weapons from the U.S. through Saudi Arabia, that's not civilizational.
Yeah.
That's not civilizational.
Yeah.
But Nikki Haley's up there like, let's fight it. Let's go. China, let's go.
Why do you think she's doing that?
Because she
Has
wants.
she always been that way?
She wants the big money. And the big money people like when you get, well, she's a woman, so she's got to be tough. Ban TikTok, I'll kill you.
She wants to ban TikTok?
Oh, ban it.
Whoa.
Ban it. And then we're going to go there and kick China's ass for making it. I'm Nikki Haley. I'm tough. I'm what? Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton came out like the running of the bulls going, fuck Putin. We should kill, like, Hillary's on record saying some of the most bellicose things ever about what we should be doing with our CIA and with our military. And Nikki Haley's basically going out there going, the big money likes when you're open to a little conflict. They like that. The Koch brothers types like when you leave the door open. You don't have to say we're going to do it, but leave the door open. All options on the table. That's their favorite word. Their favorite sentence is like, "Oh, we're leaving all options on the table. It's about our values," says Nikki Haley. It's about our values. In northern Ukraine, she wants the money. I don't know what Chris Christie's up there talking about. You know, Ozempic or whatever, but he's not getting $1. No one's giving him anything.
He's a weird one.
He's
why
just
is he
there to
still
ruin
doing
things.
that?
Here's what I appreciate about Chris Christie. He exists only to destroy. He's not
can't
trying to
win.
build. He cannot win. He's not going to be elected. He's there to kill that Vivek Ramaswamy. He's going to kill him one day. He's there to just destroy other people. He's not there to succeed, and he knows it. And Nikki Haley now is having the big meetings. She's having the big closed-door meetings when they take you up to Monterey, California, in the Bohemian Grove, and they sit you down by the redwood trees, and you go, I like your style. I just like what. Now, by the way, who the hell is Nikki? No one knows. No one cares. She was the governor of what? What was she the governor of? South Carolina. Great. But again, none of these people gave a shit back then, right? I think her big thing was when someone climbed to the top of the State House and took away the Confederate flag, she was like, well, that's good. I think she didn't do anything. Like, whatever. She had that moment of like, look at me. I'm the governor and I'm progressive. I'll let people vandalize the Capitol, maybe for its good reason, whatever. But nobody knew who this bitch was, and until she got on stage and started saying, "Hey, I would love to go to war. I would love to go to war." And then all of a sudden, all the money started going. You know, Nikki Haley, she's not a particularly engaging or electric, but you know, she's fine, but she's not like somebody who's like, whoa.
So what do they do? Do they step in and say we need better speechwriters? What do they do? Do they say we need some sort of a clear, dynamic message that comes from you that's uniquely from a woman's perspective that might excite Republicans?
Yeah, the Karl Rove types sit down and go, we've really lost our way here. We've lost our way because right after 9/11, we were able to sell people on this idea that America had to dominate every corner of the globe, and we were going to throw a lot of lives at that, and we were going to spend a lot of money to do that. And that's what's ultimately going to make us safer and secure us. And Americans after the Iraq War did not believe that. The Americans said, no, we don't believe that. So then all these neocons became Democrats. All the people that had pushed that war had become Democrats, and they started coming at it from the left and going like, well, they don't like trans people. Did you hear that? They don't like trans people. They don't have a Real Housewives franchise in Russia. Like, they went at it from another way, going like, we have to confront these countries, these evil people like Vladimir Putin, who are irrational. They're not acting in their own self-interest. They're irrational psychopaths that want to dominate the world, even though Putin's never showed any inclination of doing that one time, ever once. But he's gonna. He's 75, and he may or may not have Parkinson's, but now he's gonna go and dominate the world, even though He can barely dominate the Ukraine after a year and a half of fighting. 2 years. But they go, no, he's going to dominate the whole world. And so the whole idea is basically just like they have to get back on that thing because Americans have lost the belief in that. You can't sell that to people anymore. Nobody wants to hear that.
What do you think changed?
The Iraq War. I watched it. I saw it. I was a kid. I was in high school. Friends of mine signed up for the military. RIP to some of them. A lot of them survived. People watched soldiers dying every day. They watched a lot of people get rich. They watched the 10 counties outside of Washington, D.C. become the most valuable places, the biggest, in terms of like net worth. They looked at all these counties around D.C. and they're like, wait, what? We're not talking about the Hamptons or Manhattan or Malibu or the hill country of the Texas or whatever. We're talking about Virginia. And people watched a lot of people get rich. They watched a lot of corruption. They watched a lot of people die. And then what did we get for it in Iraq? What did we really get? What did we get in Afghanistan? The Taliban, they're back. They're back. We left 20 years later with nothing. So then people start going, okay.
We didn't just leave. We armed them.
We armed them and then cowered out.
Yeah.
And then so watching that whole process has, I think, disillusioned a lot of people in my generation. I'm 38, and we're looking at all this shit, and we're going like, dude, nothing you promised us happened.
Right.
We don't feel safer. It doesn't feel like we're safer because we invaded Iraq.
Have you ever entertained the idea that they left behind all that equipment so that the Taliban could become a threat? And they would justify going back in again.
It's a circular
thing. Keep the door open.
It's a circular
Leave
thing.
all options on the table.
Let's put them on the table. Nikki Haley will be back in there in 3 months. She'll go in there. She'll go, well, women, and how women are being treated. Because it's always a tug at your heartstrings. Because we all agree that we shouldn't most of us, we shouldn't throw gay people off the roof, and we shouldn't stone women. We all agree with that. And that's the things they trot out.
Yeah.
They go, the women are being stoned. Meanwhile, they're letting people into America who some of them want to stone women, and some of them would throw gay people off the roof. And if you question that, you're a Nazi.
Do you ever see some of the photos of Kabul from like the 1970s?
Yeah, it was fucking the spot.
It was amazing.
It was
People would go there all the time.
Yeah, it was great.
They would take vacations there.
Well, also Iran, before the coup, was this progressive place.
Yeah.
And we realized, the British and the United States, that's not going to work for us. We'd actually rather them to be these scary, because the dictators will, work with our companies.
That's why that Osama bin Laden letter to America.
Oh yeah,
just went viral on TikTok. People are like, wait a minute, what? What
My
did we
12-year-old cousin's in Al Qaeda now. He's walking around going, this motherfucker makes a lot of sense about a lot of things. But that's the problem. It's like the problem is like when bin Laden did that, we were told the dumbest thing ever. He hated us because of our freedom.
He hated us because of our freedom.
It's our freedom, and that what we needed to do is give people our freedom so that they didn't hate us. It was this Manichaean good and evil thing, and I bought into it. I cannot count the amount of parties I was at, coke to my gills, screaming about the need for the Iraq War. I was like, we're over there smoking a cigarette. You don't understand. We're over there. I was like a parrot chick. I was running around Long Island, drunk in my car, coked out of my face, screaming and yelling that we needed the surge. We need the surge. And they got me. They got me because I felt good about it. I went, this makes sense. We're America. We have freedom.
Right.
I have freedom to sell subprime mortgages and do cocaine. They should have that.
Right.
And we need the surge, and we need money, and we can't give up, and we can't stop. And John Kerry's a pussy, and he went to Vietnam to just, take photos or whatever he did. And I totally bought into all of it. I was bought in, and now I was on a lot of drugs.
You're also young.
When you're young, and
being patriotic like that, like blindly, when you're young, is super common.
I remember this girl goes, she said something to me. It was one of these girls who was like a little bit more like, not buying into it.
Right.
And then she was like, she goes, do you ever think what it would feel like to be in a house and just have your city bombed? Like, I know that you're saying this is all for a good reason and this is to liberate them. But do you ever think about what it would feel like to just be in a place and then just hear bombs and then things are shaking and everything? And I was like, no. But things like that will stop you, right? Things like that stop you in your tracks a little bit. You go, oh, that would suck.
When Callan was a kid, he was in Beirut.
Wow.
During the bombings.
Interesting.
When he was a kid. Yeah, he experienced that.
It's interesting because
that probably fucking sticks with you.
It sticks with you for sure.
You're watching buildings blow up 3 blocks away. Boom.
There's this is the thing with Israel and Gaza right now. Like, everyone thinks Israel should and does have the right to respond. Obviously, they have to secure their country, right? They were invaded. We get it. The problem becomes when people are just watching massive civilian casualties all day on TikTok. There's a certain level where people, they lose their tolerance. They go, this is a lot. And I think in the modern world, people don't have the stomach, and nor should they, to see this level of death and carnage.
Especially from innocent women and children.
Yes.
When you see people being pulled out of the rubble like babies, just
it's
blown
tough.
apart.
And 2 years ago, it was idiots dancing on it in pajamas. And these kids are going, what happened? It used to be Charlie D'Amelio doing the hula hoop. Now it's people being pulled out of the rubble. And kids are like, what? So it doesn't work anymore. Like, this type of all-out conflict, it doesn't work. And I appreciate Israel's position, because it's a tough position to be in. That being said, it's not going to work. If we had TikTok when we were in Fallujah, it would have been crazy.
Oh my God!
None of it.
Look at the stuff that got out about the what is it called? Which prison? Zagreb?
Abu Ghraib.
Abu Ghraib. With the fucking dogs? The shit that they were doing to people?
That cigarette smoking girl, Lindy England, who now, by the way, works at a strawberry festival. I found that out on my podcast. I swear to God. Lindy England, the cigarette chain smoking cigarette girl who tortured those guys at Abu Ghraib, literally was one of the sponsors of a strawberry festival. I forget where, but it's absolutely true, and you can check it, and it's amazing. And I thought, everybody has a second act in this country. By the way, everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter what you've done. Everyone has a second act. OJ's on his third act. Trump's on his third or fifth, sixth act, seventh act. Everyone has a second act. If you're still on the planet in this country, that's the thing about Russia. They had to kill that guy Prigozhin. You don't get a second act there. No. That's not the way it is. They don't have the mechanism. They can't give him a reality show. Prigozhin doesn't get a game show. They got to blow him out of the sky. In America, Hollywood would love Trump. Now, if Trump goes, I'm not going to run for president, I just want to do a big show, they would build him a fake White House in Burbank tonight and let him do, and they'd give him Emmys, they'd pretend it was all good, they'd hug him. It wouldn't matter as long as he doesn't do the thing they don't want him to do.
I don't think that's true. I don't think he ever comes back. I don't think they ever let you back in.
Well, no.
Once they decide
he
you're
just
Hitler,
said, I'm not going. Well, literally, we got George W. Bush. Ellen's hugging him, going, we love him. And then people are going, he wasn't that bad. He was much worse president than Trump. Yeah. Did much worse to America. But I think if Trump just said, I'm abandoning politics, Hollywood would be there in 2 seconds, because they don't have any morals. They're amoral. So the thing about Hollywood, they don't care. They're only thinking about what can make them money and what will get them in trouble the least.
But don't you think that in this day and age, being moral, or at least signaling that you're moral, is an important part of Hollywood that didn't exist before?
It can be, and it is to a certain degree, but they all know Trump is a fucking massive train of money. They all know he's a train of money, and if he just said, listen, I don't want to be the president anymore, I want to host a game show, there are people that Ted Sarandos is calling him, and anyone that says shit about Ted, he would go, hey, what do you want him to be president? I gave him a show. What are you, nuts? He'd be in his Malibu house screaming like, I gave Trump a show. So I do think that there's a way back in. They don't want him to be the president.
Yeah.
But they don't.
But he wants to be the president.
And he's going to probably be the president. He's going to be the president. It's going to feel interesting when he's inaugurated because it'll feel like we're living in a loop.
How far do you think they would go to stop it? Because it's really wild watching him being prosecuted, right?
Yes.
It's really wild.
I know, for inflating the price of a condo, it's the dumbest thing ever.
It's weird.
They were like, he's an asset of Russia. And now they're like, now it's totally switched to where they're like, he said it had 6 bedrooms. It has 5. It's like, guys, this wasn't what we were told.
Right.
We were told he was an asset of Russia.
Yeah.
And then they switched it up immediately to go, oh, he inflated the price of his real estate. By the way, everyone does that. Everyone does that. If somebody's appraising your house, you walk up at the end and go, you saw the basement, right? That's woodwork that I did. Everyone does that. He does it on a grand scale because he has more money and more properties. But the idea that that's what we're getting him for, it's hilarious.
It's weird.
It's crazy.
Because if this keeps going, like, how far will they take it? Like, if he keeps getting bigger, because it seems like, at least in public perception, the more they come after him, the bigger he gets.
Yeah.
Because the more people realize the game.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, this is like banana republic shit. You're prosecuting your political opponent.
Yes.
And you're doing it specifically to time the trials around like Republican conventions, primaries, all these different. You're doing it on purpose.
Right.
It's pretty clear.
Right.
So everyone's like more and more supportive of him than ever. So how far will they go and how far can they?
I don't know. I think he'll run the joint from the can. I think he'll run the country from prison. I mean, I think he'll run it from a federal prison. I mean, it might get to the point where we have the first mafia president where he's in federal prison in Palm Beach and he's running the country.
Yeah, is that possible?
I don't think they'll kill him. I don't think they kill anyone anymore. I don't think they kill anyone anymore. They don't seem to. They're torturing Assange. They'll bleed you out slowly.
The Assange thing is wild.
But they don't seem to be killing anyone anymore the way they used to kill everyone. MLK, JFK, RFK, everyone died. But now they're not killing people nearly as much.
There's a few
people disappear a little
connected to the Epstein case.
They go. They
had to go.
They absolutely
A few
go.
of those guys went.
I take this off. I think I'm allergic to it.
That one guy.
I mean, it's crazy.
The one guy that 30 miles from his house, he hung himself with an electric cord and then shot himself in the chest with a shotgun.
That's right. Or there was a guy in Palm Beach. They found him in his pool.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Epstein friend, he was in a pool.
There's a few of those.
Well, they got to tie up the loose ends.
There's a few of those loose ends that had to get tied up.
They got to tie up those loose ends.
Yeah, there's a few
Without
of
a
those.
doubt. Without a doubt. They tied them up.
A few of those.
But they don't go after the big guys anymore. They used to go after the big guys all the time.
Right.
They don't seem to do that. They have this prosecutor now, Jack Smith, Jack something. They always have a guy they love. It was, who was it? It was Mueller. And then there was another guy. It's like he's the white knight. Yeah, this guy now. Jack Smith is the guy. So they all put their hope in Jack Smith. They had put their hope in
Trump's attorney?
Yeah.
This
is not Trump's attorney. This is the guy who's going at Trump.
Oh.
He's the special counsel.
Oh, so this is the guy that's trying to prosecute Trump.
And they're basically saying, like, this is the one. He's got it. But we've heard this for fucking forever.
Yeah, it's hard when you see the amount of crime that people are getting away with on the streets. And then you see this disproportionate thing. You're trying to put someone in a cage for what?
Right.
And you're releasing people when they just storm into Nordstrom's and just run out with racks of clothes and smash.
That's right.
People justifying that, and you're making laws so you can't prosecute someone for stealing less than a certain amount. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and you're going to go after that guy? For what? Like, what is our goal? Is our goal a safer world? Is our goal a place where businesses
you want to be
can
protected
thrive?
from Donald Trump's inflated condo price.
I mean, it's so crazy that the two things exist in the same country simultaneously.
Well,
erosion of law and order.
If you talk to anyone in California, everybody knows somebody whose house has been robbed.
Yeah.
Home invasion.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody.
Scary shit.
Scary shit.
It's scary shit. And yet they're not concentrating on that at all. You know, like in New York City's had a giant wave of crime, and they're prosecuting Trump for this. Meanwhile, they also have this insane thing where they're a sanctuary city, so they have to take in all these immigrants.
But the president's son, and everyone keeps talking about this. They go, "Well, it's a political witch hunt." And I'm like, he has videos of himself smoking crack with Ukrainian hookers with gun to their heads.
Yeah.
The guy lives in Malibu and he has art shows in Soho. He's doing okay. Like, anyone's life's ruined with one of the videos on his laptop. Anyone.
They've done a remarkable job of minimizing the impact of that
they
laptop.
go, so what? Yeah, he had his problems.
It's amazing.
They go, he had his problems. What, you have no compassion for addicts? I'm like, he's in the Ukraine with a gun to a hooker's head, smoking crack, with a job his father got him. You don't have compassion for addicts? It's a little different. It's slightly different. Can we admit that?
Well, it's also much different if we can find out that Joe Biden was involved.
Oh, yeah.
And
sure.
The idea that he wasn't involved seems more unlikely.
Seems odd.
Seems weird.
Odd that they would just bring in Hunter.
It seemed like they had conversations, too.
Yeah.
And it seems like he said that they didn't.
It's a tough family, the
But
Bidens.
it's just imagine if that was Trump.
Yeah.
Just imagine. The overall media coverage of it.
It would be
imagine how insane it would be if
Well,
Donald Trump
if Donald
Jr.
Trump was like, we should support the Ukraine, everyone in the media in this country would go, fuck the Ukraine.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
anything he said, they run the other way.
But how crazy must it be for people like the CNN people that realized their greatest profits when they were having Donald Trump on every day? But
Well, that's why they want him
probably
back.
Helped him get elected.
That's why I think they ultimately want him back. They ultimately kind of want him
For
back.
business.
They've kind of engineered his comeback to a degree. Bill Burr made a point. He was like, he was on the casino circuit, and then everybody started indicting him and talking about him, and now he's back. They like him. They love him. He was a creature of Hollywood and the media before he was a politician.
Yeah.
They did create him, and I think he's certainly not bad for business.
It's just wild how they turned.
Well, it's just wild to live in a time when we feel like we're almost in an actual loop.
Yeah.
Where you go, it's going to be the same people.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
The Bushes, the Clintons, Chelsea Clinton run for president in 2029.
You know, and it's just going to be the same things. And that's why you check out. That's why my dad is so checked out now. And I used to think like, oh, he should learn more about, or he should. And now I've realized he's like maybe the wisest person I know. Because his whole response, like at Thanksgiving, someone goes, what do you think about this Israel thing in Gaza? And he goes, not cool. And just kept eating. And I went, that's his level. Like, he's got 2 or 3 words. For any global event, my father has at maximum 4 words to describe it. It's usually like, that's not good. And then he keeps eating. And I'm like, maybe that's the move. I used to say that. I used to ridicule that. I used to go, he's really out of touch. But now I'm like, oh, he's lived through Vietnam and the first Iraq War, the second Iraq War, Afghanistan, Iran-Contra, the president getting his dick sucked, you know, Obama, Trump. Like, I think eventually you kind of just toss it. You toss it in.
Well, you decide that you're not going to get involved, and you're just going to try to enjoy your life.
Like these young kids on TikTok now that scream about they just yell about Like, there's a whole group of young kids who yell into their phone about politics. You see them, like, there's 2 kids who like love Biden, and I had them on my show, and they go, we love Joe. I love Joe Biden. And
you had them on your show?
I had them on my show, and
what was that like?
they you know, the kid what do they know about anything?
Did you get through to them at all?
No.
Was there fun?
I don't get
was it
through
fun
to people.
At all? You get through to me.
I get through to you. There's a few people I get through to.
Was it fun?
They were cool kids but they're insane.
Right.
They're insane.
But did you have any good points that they had to address?
Yeah, for sure. You know, but they don't, that level, when you were a kid or whatever you are, they're not kids either. They're like young adults. But that level of certainty that you have about the world, you never see the world more clear than when you're like 20. You know at 20 why everyone's a loser,
right?
Why everyone's a winner, what's wrong and what's right. And so now we have an app where you can go on it and scream in the app and tell everybody all the things you've figured out in 10 years of summer camp or whatever. And, but what it really is you haven't lived long enough to have any of your ideas challenged in any real way.
Right. Your brain's not fully formed.
Your brain's not formed. And you want attention?
And you're in the middle of this weird culture shift where people are like getting rewarded for yelling about politics.
That's right.
On TikTok publicly, where you would normally just kind of do it with your friends like you did over the Iraq War, coked up with a cigarette.
If I had TikTok back then, oh my God. If I had TikTok back then, I was a guy where I would go over my friends' houses. I would hang out with their parents until like they would be working like shit little jobs. It'd be like the end of high school, beginning of college. And I would sit there with their parents. They would make martinis and we would drink gin and we would watch The O'Reilly Factor. And we would smoke cigarettes in the backyard. And this was like, if I had TikTok at that point, it would have just been this sweaty, disheveled cokehead screaming about how Donald Rumsfeld needs our support. Because that was, I was like, you're not American if you're not. And I just think about myself. I was like, fuck, I couldn't have been more wrong. So I look at these kids who now have like the technology to broadcast every thought that they think they're having. And I'm like, you're going to look back on that and go, that was so cringe.
Right.
When I was like doing Biden youth and screaming about the importance of Biden and how great he was, even if you believe in Biden or think he's good or whatever, the way that they do it, they're going to look back on it and they're going to go, oh, I was caught up in something. Because that's what I feel. I go, I was caught up. I read a few books that I didn't understand, and I went all around Long Island screaming about the need to democratize the Middle East.
There's something about doing that on Long Island.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's so classic.
It was great. And it was like, I remember being in the car with people. You want to fight him here? You want to fight him here? Yeah. Every talking point that was given to me, I completely now realize sounds ridiculous. And I look at these young people and I'm like, I'm not saying don't be passionate about things. I'm just saying like live a little.
Yeah. Also,
wait a little bit.
It's hard to realize why you're captured in like a way of thinking.
Right.
While you're in the middle of it and all your friends are in the middle of it and everybody's in the middle of it.
See, what at least back then you didn't have social media, so it's like I wasn't doing it to be famous. I was doing it because I was a lunatic. I was a genuine fucking lunatic. Now these kids go, oh, there's clout. I can make money. Right. I have followers.
Ooh, yeah.
Back then I was like, no. I got a backyard. I got a bottle of vodka. I got a pack of cigarettes. Let's go.
But you know what's ironic?
Yeah.
If you were on TikTok and there was all these other people doing it at the same time, if TikTok existed back when you were a kid, you would still rise to the top.
Yeah, well, I like to think so.
Yeah, you would 100%.
I like to think
you would
so.
100%. Because a lot of this people getting attention that are mediocre, it's just a lack of other content that's available.
No, I would like to think so. I would like to think that there'd be people being like, do you watch that guy?
I'd be like, he's the guy.
That fat, closeted gay cocaine addict who talks about why we need to do the Iraq War? He's good. Who knows?
You would be a Fox News consultant.
I could go to Lachlan Murdoch right now.
You would if
and
they
say, give me 20 million, dummy.
Imagine if Fox decided to go Wild West and they had like an online, like wild, right-wing, swear all the time, talk about whatever the fuck you want to.
Right. If I
would get a lot of the young guys in.
It would, listen, if I'd be the oldest person on TikTok. If Fox News did a TikTok show with me,
oh my God,
and it was just me screaming at these kids,
yeah,
and they're all like young guys who they all have a boy band aesthetic, and they're kind of like they're also trying to get girls as they talk about politics,
right?
So it's the weirdest thing. They're like, they're like looking in the camera, they're like, like healthcare, like you have that abortion, yeah, which is lovely. I mean, I'm not anti-abortion, but it's so funny to see this. Everything's conflated with everything else. Mm-hmm. So it's like, they're out there trying to get pussy, trying to make money, trying to be famous, and also trying to be right. And by the way, a few of those things have to get sacrificed. The people that I've known where I'm like, God, you're right, a lot of them are not rolling in dough. Right. A lot of those journalists who are like right about stuff, or they even care about the idea that there is a right, they're not rolling in dough.
They get Substacks.
You'll read them.
They're doing better now. Like
they're doing
Substacks
better
are pretty
now.
profitable,
They're doing better now.
right?
The Greenwalds, people like that, Taibbi, absolutely. They're doing a lot better now.
And you can fucking trust them. God damn, it's hard to trust. It's hard to know what the fuck you're reading, what the motivation is behind it.
Oh,
like more than ever before. You want some more of this?
No, I'm good. Thank you, buddy.
More than ever before. I mean, so many times I'm reading things. I'm like, what's the fucking motivation behind? What's the true story?
When I came up in the world and trying to understand this stuff, there was cable news dominated the discourse. So it was just the three networks, the big three, the papers, the Times, the Journal, the Washington Post, whatever. But then it was cable news. So it was MSNBC, Fox News, CNBC to a much lesser degree, CNN even to a much lesser degree. But it was Fox and MSNBC were the ones that were really propaganda factories. Fox was the right, MSNBC was the left. And that's what you had. And that's kind of still what you have if you're a boomer, you know. But now the internet has just opened the gates of hell so that it's every idea. And every permutation of every idea. So you get some really good ideas and some really bad ones. And sometimes they're all in the same package.
But don't you think you get a lot more of an understanding of what is actually going on?
Absolutely.
If you're listening to Jimmy Dore.
If you're all over the place,
if you're listening to Breaking Points.
Of course.
There's so many different
There's so
versions.
much information, it verges on too much.
It can be.
It can be.
It's almost impossible to keep up. You have a full-time job.
But I mean, it is much better than what it was when I was growing up and you were fed.
Oh, yeah.
So Bill O'Reilly would come on and feed you a narrative.
Well, the fucking weapons of mass destruction narrative. That's responsible for the death of how many fucking people?
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And
then it was like
Iraq didn't even make sense.
Well, it made sense for people that had a lot of money in it. They wanted to knock over all these countries. They really wanted to go into Iran. They
couldn't saw the
do
Wesley
it.
Clark thing.
Of course.
That thing's wild.
They wanted to go into Iran. They wanted to remake the entire thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. When he talked about that, I remember watching that going, wait, what is he saying? Like, they really have conversations like this?
Yeah. Well, I think it really does come down to the fact that, listen, our system of government has a lot of benefits, I wouldn't want to live in any other country. There's a lot of great things about our system of government. So the idea of going like, shouldn't everyone have this stuff? Some of it, sure. Freedom of speech, all these things, freedom of association, freedom of religion, all of the things that we like value when they talk about we should go and give that country that. Absent in that discussion, though, is number one, whether the country wants it.
Right.
How we're giving it to them. If we're doing it at the barrel of a gun. RFK talks a lot about how China has been really invested in soft power, building schools. What are we doing? Building bases. What do people hate? Military bases. China's Belt and Road Initiative is like building schools. Economically reaching out to people and trying to build bridges and expand China's influence in those parts of the world, namely Africa. We've been doing it at the end of a gun for a very long time.
Yeah, what China's done has been pretty fascinating because they have such an interesting way of running things. It's horrible if you're stuck under the thumb. But if you look at the way their government and their businesses all work together, like no one can do anything that's bad for the government. No one can do it. Like the government, like da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's a hard country to not respect, even though you go, I don't want to live there.
Right.
You have to respect them. Like you're a fighter. You respect an adversary who has strengths that you don't have. China has strengths we don't have because
adherence. Compliance.
They have a system of government. Censorship. Controlling people completely is probably a strength. It's not a good thing, but it probably does strengthen the nation state to a degree by preventing the type of information from getting to them that would make them go, hey, we're getting fucked over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But people probably know. Like, that's the thing that happened during Russia, during the time of the Soviet Union. I would talk to this dude who was Russian. He said nobody believed anything that was on the news. Everybody assumed that it was all propaganda, no matter what the state news was telling you.
Right.
You know, they kind of had this, like, cynical perspective that they were trapped, and this is just how it is.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before, but we're a country of believers. Like, we're not that cynical. We actually do believe in...
The thing about these places where they control people, it makes it very difficult to get creativity.
That's true.
You don't get any funny because it's too dangerous.
No irony.
Yeah,
no
you
funny.
talk shit about the wrong people, they're going to fucking kill you.
They'll get you.
Yeah, and you don't get any political discuss.
Did you hear about the show in Russia where it's like, let's find out who's gay, and they literally put these guys in a house, and one of them's gay?
Oh, my God.
And they have to keep kicking them out until they find the gay one. I mean, it's like hilarious.
Oh,
but I mean,
funny.
like, that's... the type of entertainment you get like an authoritarian country.
Oh, they have gang fights.
Crazy.
They have gang fights in Russia.
Yeah.
MMA fights where they have teams of 30 guys on one side and 30 guys on the other side. And they run at each other like Braveheart and beat the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
And then we're in different color outfits so they know who's who.
It is wild.
It's a wild place, man.
You got to stop. You got to have a happy medium between that and let's have 7-year-old drag queens.
Right.
And this is the problem, because we're not designed for balance. The country is not designed for that.
Right.
And certainly the internet is really not designed for that.
Right.
The minute you acknowledge certain things and go like, yes, people should be able to pursue happiness as long as it's not at the expense of other people. What tends to happen there is, you know, in freedom, you have a tremendous disparity between people that are going to abuse it, right?
Yeah.
And so then the answer for those countries is to give people very little freedom.
Right.
And to wrap it up either in religion or nationalism or whatever it is. And then our country, we maybe go the other way, where we tell people your self-esteem and your sense of self, you know, is at the expense sometimes of a cohesive society. And that also becomes a problem. So a lot of people now are looking at like, what are the limits of a liberal democracy? What are the limits of self-will completely run rampant? You know, if everyone in society is thinking only of themselves, their own happiness, pleasure at every moment, how do we have a cohesive functioning unit? So that is the struggle. That's the struggle, is like finding a way for people to be able to have freedom without infringing on other people. And that doesn't seem to work, because as soon as you give people freedom, they go, you have to agree with me or you're fired or we'll take your kids away or we'll whatever. And that is what makes people go like, fuck it, no freedom. You know, it's like the abortion thing. It's like, both sides of that debate have been, and the trans thing, they've both been hijacked by extremists. There are people that believe that you should be able to get an abortion at any point during a pregnancy for any reason. Then there are people that believe you should never be able to get an abortion. Those are the only people we hear from. The rational middle ground just goes to work. That's the problem with all these debates. We don't hear from sane people.
And if you chime in, if you have any sort of a balanced perspective, or, you know, you're in the middle on these things, you're in the center. If you chime in on these things, you just get attacked. You get attacked by the strongest forces from both sides.
Yeah.
And the most, it's just very aggressive, and most people want to avoid that in their life.
Yeah.
So if they do wade in occasionally and they get called out for it, you could get fired. You can get in trouble. They can contact your boss. Do you know that your employee is a this or a that?
Right.
And they support this, and they support fascism, and they support, you know, and they're like, oh, I don't want to hear this. And we're going to start an email campaign to boycott your company. And like, oh, fuck.
That's why everyone should choose like really one terrible thing to be on the internet, and they get to be it. Whether it's a furry or a Nazi, you get to be like one thing.
You have to be one.
You have to be one. You can't be everything.
What would
It's
you be?
confusing.
What would you be?
I don't know. I guess furry, we're halfway there with the coat. But I just think you have to, it's like, what's interesting about Caitlyn Jenner is trans person, also heavy MAGA, also rich athlete. It's a lot for people. It's a lot. They go, there are people that are hating her for different reasons.
Right.
There are people that love her and then hate her. It's very interesting when you have those cross sections of person. Mm-hmm. Where it's like the trans people are like, we like her. And then she goes, I'm against gay marriage. You go, what's happening?
Yeah, like when Kanye put on the MAGA hat. I was like, hey.
Yes, what's happening? He's had an interesting run.
I bet he bounces back with this new album.
I bet he bounces back.
Especially right now.
We're going to see a lot more high-profile breakdowns.
Well, right now,
Yeah.
you see more anti-Semitism than you've ever seen before.
It's a lot of it. It's a lot
The
of
stuff
it.
that Kanye said seems super mild.
It's super mild compared to what a lot of people say. All he said was, I like Hitler. That's fine. By the way,
I love Hitler. He said,
I love Hitler. That's not even the worst of it now.
I love everybody.
That's not even the worst of it now. If your kids are only saying, I love Hitler, you're lucky. Count yourself lucky if your kids are only going, I love Hitler.
Oh, my God.
It's a lot of anti-Semitism now, and it's a lot of people that are like, I don't know. And I feel
it's open.
It's open. People
That's
are going
weird.
wild about it. It's wild.
We've talked about it too many times already, but
Of course.
those hearings where that congresswoman
Yeah.
was addressing the president.
Why
of
doesn't anyone
Harvard.
lie? Why doesn't anyone lie anymore? Why didn't she go, what? Like, nobody lies. Like, the fact that the president of Harvard can't lie scares me more than the discrimination.
I don't think it's a matter of that she can't lie. I think it's a matter of she believes that those things are okay.
Ask me the question they asked her, and I'm going to tell you what the right response was.
Okay. Does yelling "Death to the Jews" constitute harassment?
I was in my office. I heard them say, I thought they were saying death to the blues. I had no idea they were talking about Jews. None of that's going on. I don't even know what's happening. I go to work every day just trying to make this the greatest country in the world. And apparently people are yelling about the Jews. Of course not. The Jews are happy. Everyone's happy where we are. Jews are happy. Muslims are happy. The things you don't see are the Jews feeding the Muslims the latkes and the Muslims making the hummus for the Jews. You guys are seeing the bad stuff. But we have, we have Jew and Muslim dance night every Thursday. Like, just make shit up. We desperately live in a time of intellectuals, and we need to live in a time of business people who cut deals. This is, again, an argument maybe for Donald Trump. We intellectuals are rotting everything with their doublespeak and it's what we need is people that realize the limitations of their own intellect. Those are business people that come in and go, you want something, Guess what? Neither one of you's getting it. But here's what you can get.
There's a smugness to those people too. That's
Yes.
bizarre. When the one lady was, what university was it where the lady was smiling every time she went to answer the question and not answer them?
Thomas,
if it's actionable,
right?
If it's actionable,
Right. If it's actionable, if
you
are
actually commit genocide, like what are you saying?
Thomas Sowell, who's one of our great thinkers, said the thing about intellectuals. He wrote a whole book about it. They never have to be right. If you bake pies for a living, if you are a contractor, you cannot put up a house that falls down. You cannot poison people with a pie.
Right.
Intellectuals can be wrong all the time without consequence. The only thing is that whatever they say has to sound good. That's why these people at Harvard are sitting there making no sense, because they know they don't have to be right. All of the intellectuals in the early 1900s were all on board with eugenics. They thought it was a great idea. Only in hindsight was it like, ugh. You know what I mean? All these intellectuals were on board with the Iraq War. It's stunning. Go look at everybody writing. People were fired from, Chris Hedges, a journalist, fired for giving an anti-war commencement speech. Most intellectuals are on board with that. Now they all go, ooh, we're aghast at that. So these people at Harvard are just trying to say things that sound good. And they're not. And because they know they don't have to be right. There's no consequence in the real world for what they say, as long as it sounds good. So they can say, hey, it's about free speech. They don't believe in free speech at all. But like, as long as someone goes, that was a well thought out, well articulated point. It doesn't matter what they're saying. And, I don't know.
Well, that's clear in those conversations.
Right.
Because they're saying nutty things like if it's actionable. Like she's
Right.
just dancing around answering.
Just say no. That's what I would have said. Can we say we genocided the Jews? No.
Yeah, that's really bad.
I go, that's bad. That's not good. Who's doing that? That's what I'd say.
But here's the
who's
thing.
doing that even?
What is the fear? Is the fear that the students will attack? What is the fear?
The fear
because
is...
on
Yeah.
campuses, I would imagine on a lot of these progressive campuses, the pro-Palestine sentiment is the strongest by far.
For sure.
By far.
For sure.
And it's probably a problem when someone has a pro-Israel stance. Like
I
they
think
probably get swarmed.
These institutions now are fully, they've been captured. It's institutional capture, meaning that they don't want to say anything or do anything that gives the idea that they are backing an oppressive entity.
The colonizers.
The colonizers.
Yeah,
the
that's
bad
the big
guys.
one. The colonizers, the big one.
So they're like, we got to let people say whatever they want to say. And we're not going to get, now we don't want anyone getting hurt. Maybe we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but they're also saying we're going to allow people to say. However, you couldn't say that about trans people. Couldn't call for the genocide of trans people.
How about no one called for the genocide of Russians?
Right.
There was never death to the Russians. Like that. That's kind of wild.
No
Like,
genocide
Russia,
calling for it
Right.
at school.
Isn't that? But that is really wild if you think about that one. That
Yeah.
there wasn't a similar backlash against Russians.
Because Ronald Reagan said, oh, what do you mean recently or when we had the Cold War?
Even like while this is happening recently with the Ukraine-Russia thing, Russians are fine over here. Like they don't have any problem. Like when Russian
because
fighters
we don't
get
view the Russians as a controlling party in our society. There's a lot of people that view
the Jews
as the de facto rulers of America and the controllers of America.
Interesting.
You know, and that's I think the reason for. I don't think we look at Russians as having that type of power.
Also, the scale of the Israel's response in Gaza, it dwarfs everything that's happening.
It's wild. I think it's not. It's foolhardy. It's. I think strategically, it's going to be an issue because what are they going to do now? They're going to have a security role in Gaza permanently.
And it seemed like there was some Kamala Harris talk where she was talking about a country that was going to rebuild it.
Right.
And they're in negotiations talking about rebuilding Gaza, which is like, hey, that's the fucking Ferris wheel. It keeps spinning around.
That's the Ferris wheel.
Just keeps spinning around. Here
listen,
comes the money again.
I feel bad.
The money's going this way now. Halliburton.
Yeah, I feel bad for people that are victims of anti-Semitism, for sure, and that's legit. And especially people in colleges are probably getting the brunt of craziness.
Yeah.
But then you also have a thing where every criticism of Israel can't be anti-Semitism. That also.
Well, how about the citizens' criticism of Israel?
Right.
They were in the streets, hundreds of thousands of them for months.
They were not
protesting
fans of
Netanyahu.
Bibi. Yeah. So there is room, and there has to be room to say the course of action we disagree with. I think it's unwise for the United States to allow and fund an open-ended engagement in Gaza. Open-ended with Netanyahu goes, we need like 2 years, two months.
They're already saying that it might be beyond the tipping point of rebuilding. Like they've destroyed so much. Have you seen the footage? The recent footage?
It's crazy.
Mosques.
It's not
just
good.
bombing mosques, bombing buildings.
It's their moment. At what we did after 9/11 did not make us safer, and I think they're having that moment right now where there's an understandable rage. They are upset. Hamas has their babies and women and children and what Hamas did was strike at the heart. That's what terrorism does, right? You get to the core of a human being by saying, we're going to rip away the things from you that you care about the most. This is the emotional response to that. I don't know how strategic long-term it is.
It's terrifying.
And I think it's unfortunately, when you see women and children being killed that are innocent, we got to minimize that. This is, if not, this is why when we have a modern civilization, the whole point of being a civilized country is to, minimize deaths of innocent people in these types of things.
Especially like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that October 7th thing is so wild. The music festivals.
It's crazy.
Terrifying.
No, and I understand why you have a situation now where Israel is in a position where they're going, well, we can't live with Hamas.
Right.
That's not going to work.
Right.
We can't live with them. But there needs to be some two-state solution. When I grew up, all we heard was that. And it never materialized. It never came to fruition. But then over the last few years, no one's talked about it and no one's cared. And I think it's become a situation where you have these elements, these radical elements in that society that are reacting to the very real and unending, unlivability of that situation. Where Gaza's unlivable. It's not a livable situation, the situation. So then there's going to be people that are ultimately hopeless. And that's where terrorism comes from. It comes from people that feel like they have zero hope. Nobody blows himself up or engages in this type of activity because they feel like there's a myriad of options for them in life.
Right.
They might be polluted with fundamentalist religion, but where does that come from? It comes from the idea that if somebody came to me and goes, blow yourself up, I go, I don't want to. I have a show tonight, for law enforcement. I have whatever. I got stuff to do. I don't have the greatest life in the world. I don't even have to say that. I have a raccoon coat on. But the point is, I'm not going to blow myself up. No young 19-year-old person should be at a point in their life when, for a religion or a political faction or a government, should be thinking of doing a kamikaze mission. So you do have to address the political conditions that create that level of hopelessness. You do.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that anti-Semitism's okay, and that doesn't mean that at every turn you're going to be able to convert people, that if they just want to kill Jews, maybe they're just going to kill Jews, and you have to eradicate that threat. But you have to address those political conditions that create that type of desperation in people that turns them to that type of violence.
Have you ever heard Dave Smith talk about it?
Yeah, I heard a little bit on your show.
He goes deep.
He's deep in it.
And when you look at when it's all laid out, you're like, oh my God, how do you fix that?
It's very hard. Well, I believe in a crusade. I believe my fat aunt and uncle, the Christians, take it. They come in on a Carnival cruise ship. They come out. The Jews and the Arabs go, what happened? And then Big Daddy, the originals, the Christians, the ones who used to run it, come back. They set up Dave and Buster's. They're in there. They're at buffets. My aunt's pointing at the tomb where Jesus supposedly crawled out of. She's taking a photo with it in her sandals. It's very hard to imagine fixing any of this stuff. We're going to have to learn to live with some compromises. And I don't only mean like political compromises where we go, you get this, we get that. There's just some compromises in life where we're going to have to just understand that certain areas might be dangerous.
Yeah.
Certain areas might be dangerous. It's what it is. Did we fix the south side of Chicago? Did we fix inner city, East St. Louis? Did we fix any of those? No, people left. So that's unfortunately what tends to happen a lot is people go. They leave. So I don't know that.
But how do they get out of Gaza? That's the problem.
That's a problem.
That's part of the problem. Is
That's
it's
a problem.
kind of an open air prison.
That's a problem. They're going to have to go to some of the other Arab countries.
Are the other Arab
perhaps.
countries taking Gaza refugees?
No, not a lot of
seems-
them.
That seems like
They should take some. But again, I don't want refugees. Like I almost agree with them there. It's like I don't want refugees. If my
It can certainly
family
cause
started calling me
problems.
going, "Hey, our pipes froze," I'd go, "Oh, I'm sad. That's horrible. Wow, just be at the hotel again, huh? Well, we figured you got a house and what? It's like there's a limit to the refugee game.
well, that was one of the funniest things
Yeah.
about the New York crisis. They were
Yeah.
asking people to take them into their homes.
No,
What are you talking
Doing
about?
that?
Some guy who walked over here from Guatemala and he's going to sleep with your kids.
it's great.
Like,
Listen,
what are you saying?
we-
How
we-
do you know that guy? Is he cool?
Here's the thing, and I know this is going to sound horrible because I think even if Jesus were to come back, he would even say, enough with the refugees. Like, I think, we got to not fuck up the whole world and then take them all in. Like this writer, Steve Saylor, said, he had a great quote, invade the world, invite the world. Can't do it. We can't go around fucking everything up, and then all these people show up, and we go, well, we owe them. I go, I don't owe them. I didn't do it. I didn't bomb them. Well, your tax dollar. It's like we have to stop letting people destabilize all these countries and then let them in. We have floods of refugees in
Why
Europe.
do you think the refugees are coming in from the southern border like they are? Why do you think they're allowing that to happen?
It's economic migration, and the reason is that a lot of these business owners and rich people benefit from cheap labor. They want gardeners, they want nannies, they want chefs, they want people doing their nails. They want if you
Do you think
own
they've thought of that and
Of
said,
course.
let's let them in so they can do our nails?
Of course they don't want to pay American wages. If you can hire someone at $3 an hour or whatever it is, off the books, illegal labor. You know how many construction projects go up with illegal labor? You know how many of these construction projects in Miami? They're building like 20 new towers in Miami with floating bathtubs for Bitcoin criminals. And God only knows the Paul brothers, and God bless everybody. I like them. But like they're building all these big towers in Miami. How's that? I'm not doing it. It's illegal labor.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Now, DeSantis shut that down, and all the construction projects are grinding to a halt because there's a lot of illegal labor being used in putting up certain buildings.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
This is a huge part. This is what, or we're to believe that the people living in Greenwich, Connecticut love El Salvadorians. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. It's either that they're benefiting financially from it, or there's a housewife in Greenwich going, I'd love an arepa.
New Florida immigration rules start to strain some businesses. Some employers say they were losing workers because of the new law, which is championed by
And look
Governor Ron
look at this photo.
DeSantis. A dude roofing a house.
Yep. This is
Building a house.
we have this massive housing boom that was enabled not only by the low interest rates, but by you have to have people to build these houses. What do you think D.H. Horton, all these companies they don't admit to it.
So how do you mitigate that? So you think that's literally why they're letting everyone in? You don't think it has anything to do with voting?
Yes, it has a lot to do with voting. It has to
trying
do with
to allow people to register.
certain
to vote.
demographics are better for the Democrat Party, and we know that. However, Republicans, up until recently, didn't care that much because they thought they could turn Latinos Republican, and some of them will. Some Latinos are Catholics, and they go, we don't want to do gender monopoly and gender musical chairs or whatever games they're playing over there. We're going to stick with, and a lot of Latinos don't vote. So you have a large percentage of people that don't subscribe. They go, the political system's bullshit. Who cares?
Well, also you have
Yeah.
the Biden administration sending people back.
That's right.
From Venezuela.
Yeah.
The Venezuelan people who
Right.
escaped a communist government.
Yeah.
They would vote Republican.
Yeah,
like,
they
get
go,
out of
you
here.
gotta go. So they don't want to let more Cubans in from Miami. They don't want to let more
No.
Cubans in. No.
No.
But I think the economic interests of these people are we can bring in people that will do the work for nothing.
Yeah.
The Tyson chicken raid, this was the big thing. The immigration, the raid that whatever ICE or whoever did on the Tyson chicken factory. This is a big story during Trump's term. They raided that. African-American unemployment dried up in the months after that because the Tyson chicken factory had to hire Americans. So when these companies are forced to hire Americans and pay American wages, they do.
Right.
But until they're forced to do that, they're going to rely on largely illegal, unregulated labor. And that's in their personal lives and private lives. So if you can hire a landscaping company to come to your Hamptons house or your house in Bel Air or Greenwich or here, wherever. It's beautiful places
But it
here.
seems like such an
Spanish
insane
Oaks, whatever.
strategy to just keep the border open. It seems like such a fucking dangerous move. Chicken plants lured them. Feds jailed them. How Mississippi's immigration crisis unfolded. Oh, the chicken factories. Undocumented workers were once considered an acceptable part of our economy. Now they are demonized. Interesting.
And again, I'm not saying like this is a great thing to do these raids, and obviously there's human costs. But what tends to happen when you lose illegal labor, you have to hire Americans. And they don't want to do that. Why is the Chamber of Commerce pro-immigration? Why are the Koch brothers open borders advocates? Is it because David Koch loves people from Central America? Or is it because he wants to drive down the cost of wages? He believes in a market rate. And a market rate is, hey, anyone will do it. This is the problem with kind of that libertarian type of philosophy. It just doesn't work if you import the third world to America.
Right.
That doesn't really work because then you're setting wages. People on Park Avenue in Manhattan go, yeah. What does that guy want? $4? Let's find someone to do it for $2.50.
So is this idea to try to compete with other countries that do this, like China?
That is one of the ideas. The other idea is to get a 9th sailboat.
Yeah.
It's people that go, where are our profits? How can we maximize these profits?
What's the bottleneck?
How can we maximize? How can
We
we
have a
put up
cheap labor bottleneck.
How can we put up 100 houses for just the material cost and a minute labor cost?
And what do you think about? There's a real. I think there's a bill that just got brought up where they're trying to stop these companies from buying up houses.
Yeah, BlackRock and all those guys.
And they're trying to stop them from doing that because they think that they're controlling the housing market.
Yeah, it's pricing single-family homes. These are the big problem. The big problem is single-family homes.
So here it is. Hedge funds have invaded the housing market. A new bill would ban them. A sweeping new bill introduced in Congress would essentially ban hedge funds and private equity firms from buying single-family homes.
There you go.
This is interesting.
Yeah, this prices out a lot of people.
Do you think they're going to vote on this? This seems like one that's going to be very interesting to see how they vote.
What's going to be interesting?
Bill, which was introduced both the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday, would, over a 10-year period, require hedge funds and large institutional investors to completely divest from single-family home ownership. Called the End Hedge Fund Control of American Homes Act, the bill would require large funds to sell off 10% of their homes each year over a decade.
Well, basically what they want to do is create a nation of renters.
How do you feel about this, though? How do you feel about a ban?
Well, there's a lot of people that own those houses that are not going to be happy with a ban because they want BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is worth.
How much more do they give them?
They can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just lease those homes out.
And they lease them out. It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things, eventually are going to be replaced by more Whitney Webb is somebody I've had on my show, and she's
wild.
She's wild, and she knows her stuff. Patrick Bet-David had her on, and when she came on my show, she made a lot of great points about these legacy systems that people want to get rid of, and they go rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever. You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy.
Right.
So I think the ban would sort of put the brakes on that, I guess. The problem is a lot of these companies find ways around these bans. You got to remember, these are the smartest people in America that become, and I don't mean smart like contemplative, intellectuals. I mean shrewd, effective sociopaths. They're really adept. When I say smart, I don't want people going, you think that. I don't mean that. I mean, they're very effective at gaming the system. They're 10 steps ahead of all these laws that are being passed. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to pass the laws, but like a lot of these people are already anticipating that and then how to get around it.
I'm fascinated to see how that bill does.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they would put extraordinary pressure to make sure that bill does not get passed.
They're not going to allow that bill to get passed.
It seems like you're going to find out who's on board.
Well,
and who's not on
again,
board.
when RFK came on my show and called out BlackRock, Vanguard, I know he did it on your show too,
Yeah.
BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street as these companies that own everything. You know, I got a lot of messages from a lot of financial people going, well, everybody's portfolio is tied up in that. This is part of the whole issue with everything.
Right.
It's the Thomas Sowell thing. There's no solutions. There's only trade-offs. It's hard to get honest at this deep in the scam that is our financial system. It's like hard. Any deleveraging, any winding down of the military-industrial complex, all of this will have ramifications in our society, financially for people across the board. Anything you want to, I'm not saying you shouldn't attempt to do it, but like anything like this, like you go, I don't like illegal immigration. It's like, okay, your house is more money now. You go, oh. They go, okay. I don't want Chinese people buying real estate. Okay, well, maybe, and maybe the, real estate industry is going to take a hit. Not only realtors, but people that work in that business, right? Property managers, interior designers, architects, people that stage homes, appraiser, whatever it is, people might take a hit. This is part of the issue of where we're at now. You ban BlackRock and all those things from getting in there. That's fine. And then, people will take a hit financially with their portfolios.
But do you think that how many people have to vote yes on this? Like, how many people are involved in this decision?
Well, it would have to pass 2 houses of Congress and then get signed into law by the president. Now, that seems very unlikely.
It's wild.
Seems very unlikely because BlackRock will have a great argument as to why they're helping people. They'll get out there and they'll be like, hey, man, we're here and we're buying these fucking houses and the people that we're buying them from love us. The boomers love BlackRock. The boomers will get on a BlackRock cruise with BlackRock shirts. The boomers because one of the problems in the American real estate market is boomers will not sell their houses for anything under a $1.6 million profit. They just won't. They won't because they like to lord them. They like to lord around them. They like to make their kids feel guilty. They like to go, you could never afford it. They like to tell you how cheap the house was when they bought it. And then this is every Thanksgiving or Christmas, somebody will go, pick this up for $200,000. Now it's worth $1.8 million. And then it's their millennial kids are sitting there saddled with student loan debt. And the boomers it's their last fuck you before they leave the planet.
Yeah.
They're a spiteful generation of monsters. I respect it. But their last fuck you before they leave the planet is instead of selling their houses for, I don't know, a $900,000 profit, they just won't put them on the market. Some boomers, which is hilarious, that we read the articles on my show, they're actually retiring to bigger houses. They're sizing up. It's sick. It's like insane. And so that becomes an issue too of like, it used to be like you would have a house, the kids would move, you'd stay in it probably for another 10 or 20 years, and then you'd get a condo. And you'd go, I'm out. The fuck do I want to mow lawn for? Yeah. Now the boomers are going, this is the only thing we have that makes us truly valuable in society is that we own this like a McMansion. And we're not giving this up. We are tax-paying citizens, and we are not giving this up. And our kids are going to come here every year, and they're going to suffer through the size of our house with 9 empty bedrooms while they live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we're gonna chastise them for their decisions and their choices.
And the McMansion defines you. And your car that you drive up to the
That's
McMansion
right.
in, all that defines you. Where are you vacationing?
That's right.
Where are you going?
That's right. And they're going to go, because they all bought those houses for very little money, and they are going to hold them over everybody's houses until they are found dead in them. They will not leave those houses until they're taken out in an ambulance. The most important thing for the boomer is to be right. And that's their main thing. They're not a soulful group. They've been around forever, but they've attained very little wisdom. It's actually kind of impressive. They're the most American generation of people that have ever lived. They're deeply selfish, self-aggrandizing, paranoid, delusional. But one of the things that makes them right is what they have. They go, well, how can I be wrong? Look at this fucking house. Look where we're sitting. I've got 13-foot ceilings. Don't tell me you know about Gaza. You don't.
I have to pee so bad I can't hold it in anymore. I didn't want to stop your rant.
Let's pee.
Let's come back.
Okay. It might be. I don't know. It might be microdosing.
There's some brownies that'll send you to a new place.
I think I'm allowed to do psychedelics. But
yeah,
maybe,
why not?
I think I'm allowed.
What are you afraid of?
I don't know.
I don't think it's Coke.
No.
No, it's like the opposite.
Nobody does shrooms and yells about the importance of Donald Rumsfeld.
Did you do that?
I mean, I never got the point of any. Like, I would do acid and then go around the Garden City Hotel and be like, these people have made it. Like, I totally didn't. Whatever was out there, whatever deeper lessons about the universe I should have learned, I did not.
You were young. You were also...
New York City comic just passed away, very sad. Guy Kenny DeForest, who was like a really funny guy, who was a really good guy too, and he was driving his bike in New York City, and it's a fucking life is just it's like crazy.
He got hit by a car.
He got hit by a car.
I heard about that. I heard that he was hospitalized,
and we were all like putting, raising money and stuff, and it's like, it's tough. It's tough because he was a great It's tough. Life's a fucking nightmare. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. That's when you hope that there is a mechanism by which, there is whatever you want to call it.
An afterlife
right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's something makes sense because it's hard when you look at things like that. You get very frustrated with life.
Yeah.
And
then there's the inevitability of our own demise.
Right.
Or that we only have
not yours, but mine for sure. They'll put you in some suit and fly you out of there. Your demise is not as inevitable as your friends. You'll wave to us. You'll be like, and then you'll call us from the spaceship and go, I'm trying to work out some type of deal here for some of you.
I'm the
but
last
it's not
dude
looking
who's
good.
going to get on that ship. I'm going to stay right here.
No, I feel like you won't. I feel like you'll just be like, hey, ma'am, no thanks.
I'm not interested.
It doesn't seem fun up there.
I think it's a mistake. I think it's one of those things, like I said, just because something's hard to do doesn't mean it's good to do. I think it's the people trying to make their way across. You ever see that show 1883? It's one of the prequels to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Barbaric.
Gosh, really wild.
Wild show. But it's that times a million. Like, you're going to land on some planet. It's going to be no air. You're fucked.
Would you go up in a... just take a look?
Maybe.
That would be cool.
I saw Shatner did it, Jeff Bezos and that, went up in the, was it called Deep Blue? Is that his spaceship?
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I don't think so.
Seems safer than going to the bottom of the ocean.
Ooh, much safer.
That was a tough one. That's submersible. Go see the Titanic.
Fuck.
They sent the distress signal, and then it just, that's tough.
Did you ever see the CGI recreation of what would happen with that amount of pressure when the hull gives in?
It's just like...
You explode. It's an explosion.
You almost don't feel it, right?
Oh, you don't feel it. You're gone. You're gone instantaneously. You're mist. You turn into pink mist. Boom. I mean, it's just the force of an insane amount of weight.
Yeah.
You're covered by an insane amount of mass. The water is so deep.
Yeah.
That's so much fucking weight, man.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It's such a crazy thing to do with your dad.
Well, it's a crazy thing to do with your son.
Right, that's a good point.
It's probably the billionaire dad's idea.
That's right.
That wild, crazy old fuck.
Yeah.
So he wanted to take his kid down and just like, let's experience something wild. Let's go on an adventure.
That's the thing about the boomers. That's why they're here forever. Is because their whole they're just like, let's have lunch.
So this is the recreation of what it must have looked like So look how far they're going down. Look how scary that is.
Brutal.
Look how scary that is. 3,800 meters. Oh my God, that's so crazy. That's what it says, right? Yeah. 3,800 meters. Yeah. Oh my God.
And they're sitting just like that.
Yeah, they're just sitting in this fucking stupid tube. Possible break point.
And then this is what would happen and how fast it would be.
And look at this. It's just boom. 20 milliseconds. Brain pain response is 150 milliseconds. You don't even have a chance. Real time. Boom.
Gone.
That's it. Gone. Slow-mo. Babooja.
And they found it, right? That is what happened.
Oh, yeah. They found like pieces of shit that are left from behind it after it implodes. Fucking insane, man. Look at the bodies. Watch what happens here. This is. You imagine that experience. Just missed.
Let me ask you, do you think that fully shut down the industry of people going to see the Titanic?
No.
Or is it just giving people the opportunity to say, hey, we're doing it better?
We can do better.
That's the great thing about American capitalism. There's definitely somebody going, hey, that was a blessing in disguise because we have a luxury vessel now, and we have solved all of the problems.
Yeah, there's no problems now. In fact, the president is going today. He's going to see the Titanic.
It is perfectly safe.
Yeah.
We sadly, when those things happen, it gives us the ability. I could even sell these things. I'm like, yeah, it gives us the ability to just like get better at what we do.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Jurassic Park argument.
Yeah. Don't you want to see the Titanic?
A few people died, but those dinosaurs were, it was an early prototype.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an unfortunate situation where you have I hope they got to see it.
The Titanic?
Yeah.
They didn't.
Oh.
Well,
do we know
they got
that?
far enough down. I think they died on the way down.
That sucks.
Didn't they, Jamie? I don't think they made it.
I hope.
And even if you get down there, by the way, you're looking at the Titanic through screens.
It's who cares?
You're looking
it's a
at
shipwreck.
You could look at it in the same way above there.
Yeah.
It's just you're close to it physically. So you're, oh my God, I can't believe we're all the way down here.
Yeah, it to me is like, who cares? I'm not impressed. If somebody told me that, if I was at a party or dinner and somebody went, I went down and I saw the Titanic, I'd go, oh, I would not even ask a follow-up.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Good for you.
Did you really?
Death tourism. Oh, great.
Death tourism.
Yeah, who cares? It's like it's a psychopath thing to say, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing to say. Go like, me and my dad went to see the Titanic. It's like, that's not getting you laid. You gotta, that's crazy stuff.
Well, the first people that go to the moon and go to a moon base. That's going to be a wild
That'll
one.
be fun.
There's going to be a lot of that, like really wealthy people that decide to go to the moon. It's probably going to be like
I
50
think a
million
little
bucks.
space tourism could be fun, but there's going to be accidents.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to lose some billionaires.
There's going to be people that go.
Yeah. If we decide to go to the moon and we set up a hotel on the moon, we're going to lose it.
How close is the planet that's closest to us that can sustain life? We don't know.
That's a good question. I think they're all really far, like years at light speed.
So we're not getting anywhere.
It depends on what kind of propulsion system we have currently available. See, what we're using now is we light things on fire and it pushes us forward. Like I was saying about like the rocket ships, like every time they go up, like how much carbon are they burning? Like what the fuck are they doing? Like how much of that is effect? Like, if we're trying to stop global warming, what are we doing? Shooting rockets?
Right.
What's the big deal here?
Right.
If they can develop some new propulsion system, and I think, this is my theory, I think that's what all this UAP shit is all about.
What's UAP?
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Gotcha.
It's the new way of saying UFO.
Gotcha.
When you're hearing all these disclosure talks and all this stuff, I think two things are happening simultaneously. I think it's highly likely that there is intelligent life that's aware of us from somewhere else, and I bet they visited, and I would if I was them. I also think that the government probably has in its possession some new form of propulsion that it uses for drones that is insanely sophisticated and above and beyond what we think is currently available. Some gravity-based propulsion system. And that's what a lot of these pilots are seeing. That's why these things move in ways that no one has ever seen before. That's why they can go into the ocean. That's why they can shoot through the sky. I think there's some kind of wacky drone that we've developed.
It's probably true.
When they're telling you it's aliens, that's the moment I stop thinking it's aliens. It's aliens all the way up until the government starts talking about aliens.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're all in on aliens, and then when they're like, hey, it's aliens, we're like, fuck you, it's not aliens.
I'm like, nah.
There's no way you're being honest with us. Oh, we've just decided to be honest with you.
For the first time?
Right.
Yeah. If it was aliens and they did have aliens, they would say it was their shit.
They're just trying to, I guess you're right, just kind of see what this technology can do.
Also, it's a great way to get people off your trail. You know, if you just say, look, there's aliens. You know, we have no idea where these crafts are coming from. They're from other worlds.
Right. These planets that can sustain life that are light years away, that we're unable to
Let's find out where the closest one is.
Yeah, where is this planet?
Where is the closest planet that's in the Goldilocks zone? They found that, like, they had this one planet that I think they were trying to call it Earth 2 or something like that. But it's theorized because we don't really have the actual ability to get to that planet and like have high speed drones that get a high definition video,
see their atmosphere.
See the atmosphere. Did you ever see that? Which one of the Alien movies was it where they landed on this planet? One of the more recent ones. The nearest potentially habitable planet to Earth. 14 light years away. So if we can go at the speed of light, it's 14 years to get there.
Wow.
The planet more than 4 times the mass of Earth is one of 3 that the team detected around a red dwarf star. But here's the problem. That means if it's 4 times the mass of Earth, that means there's 4 times the gravity of Earth, right? Doesn't that mean that? Is that direct? Is it 1-to-1 like that? I don't know if that's 1-to-1 because the Earth is... the moon is 1/4 the size of Earth, but it has 1/6 Earth's gravity.
It depends how big that Wolf 161 or whatever.
And there's probably life on that planet.
There could be.
I would imagine there had to be something.
Well, it depends. I don't even know if we know what it's composed of. It says a particularly exciting find because all 3 planets are of low enough mass to be potentially rocky and have a solid surface. Potentially, but it also could be a gas giant. And the middle planet, Wolf 1061c, sits within the Goldilocks zone where it might be possible for liquid water, and maybe even life to exist. Yeah.
So we'd be talking about a 14-year journey
at light speed.
If we could go the speed of light.
And we can't go the speed of light. We can't even come close. Unless these gravity propulsion systems are legitimate, in which case you could kind of go anywhere instantaneously. The idea of this, the way it's been described by like people like Bob Lazar, who supposedly worked on back engineering these spaceships, is that it's like if you had a very soft mattress and you put an immense heavy bowling ball in the center of the mattress, it would push the mattress down. So it uses the gravity to push space-time to that spot where it wants to be.
Yeah.
And then it unfolds again. It sounds insane.
It's insane, and it's beyond our comprehension, my comprehension.
It sounds totally like science fiction nonsense. It's
but
like
what is happening, I think, is that, I mean, you could imagine if DARPA was talking about the stealth bomber and things like that, in the 70s or whatever, imagine what they're talking about now.
Eric Weinstein has some very interesting ideas about it. And he thinks there's a separate branch of physics that has been secretly working on things. He points to this one obscure university in New York State.
Hogwarts?
No, it's different. It has an insane physics department, like completely unqualified physics department, and it's also connected to this hedge fund that does like Bernie Madoff type numbers.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, there's got to be something going on. Listen, the things that we're unaware of are vast, and also there's probably a lot of these billionaires privately funding stuff. The government's getting in. Everybody's kind of getting in. That's kind of the book I'm reading where they're trying to create fake people, AI people. This
is news network.
This is what they're doing, but they want to, I don't know, man. It's all very creepy, and none of it seems like it's all going to be good.
It's not stable.
So like when they were creating penicillin, we're like, oh, we get it. You get sick, here's the medicine. This is odd.
Right. Well,
this does not have a practical application that tends towards, oh, that's going to be great.
Not good for truth.
No.
Yeah, the Sam Altman thing was really interesting to me because I had him on the podcast.
OpenAI.
Yeah, very interesting guy. And then he gets kicked out of the company, and then they bring him back. And then there was this talk that he wasn't straightforward. And many people speculated that they think that ChatGPT has reached the standard to be considered AG, like Artificial General Intelligence, AGI.
Right.
Which means it's alive. It means you have this fucking thinking, calculating
and
life
Sam
form.
Altman left the company.
They brought him back. They
and
kicked him out.
I'm going to tell everybody about this. And
No.
then
They kicked him out.
Interesting.
The board removed him and then brought him back on. I don't know what happened.
I bet something happened.
Well, the thing is that they were saying that he wasn't being forthcoming or something to those, something that sounds like that.
They know what's going on.
It's gonna happen.
It's happening.
It's gonna happen.
All the AI companies are moving into San Fran. A lot of the big AI companies are moving into San Fran.
Giannis Pappas used ChatGPT to show that SNL stole from him.
Interesting.
He asked ChatGPT, that's it. Who popularized that term, that's it, and said Giannis Pappas used it for his character.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what ChatGPT is doing?
ChatGPT said that.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's certainly a terrible time to be, like one of these people who, is paranoid.
Oh, yeah.
Like I often think my mother passed away, but she was paranoid. She was a schizophrenic. Now it's like, are they schizophrenics?
Right.
Or are they? Because if you are unduly paranoid now, oh my God, it is just a daily dose of fucking stories that are like, Jesus Christ.
And we've gotten to the point where Alex Jones, despite all his troubles,
makes sense.
Not just makes sense, but a lot of people are like, hey, what did he say?
Right.
Right. Now he's back on Twitter or X.
Yeah, well,
which is wild. He's going to do a daily show.
Pointed out a lot of things over the years. Some of them have been correct.
A lot of them.
A lot of them have been correct.
A lot of them.
So you can't discount. Now, some of them aren't, but you can't discount what he says anymore as easily as you could have.
No. Not as easily. It's
prior
like
to
so much insanity has gone on over the last 3 years that like so many people are like, what the fuck?
Well, the erosion of trust in everything from the government, media, church, every institution we have is completely kind of collapsed in terms of how we view them. And we now see how politically motivated they are, how corrupt they are, how criminal they are. And now that we're just left in a world of individuals, some of whom are truth-seeking, some of whom are sociopaths, some of whom are funny, some of whom are whatever. But now we're just kind of left with a world of people trying to figure it out on their own. And it's pretty scary. Because some of those people are going to build cults and communes and everybody's going to drink the poison and they're trying to go find a Hale-Bopp comet. And some of them are going to build media companies. Some of them are going to build AI bots. Some of them are going to build, and some of them are going to, come up with new religions.
Yeah.
I mean, but it seems to be now that everybody's operating outside of the institutions.
Yes.
And that the people that are still operating within the institutions are almost taking cues, a la the Giannis Pappas, from people on the outside. So it does seem like the institutions are rotting a bit.
Well, they're trapped too. The especially the media. They're so trapped in the television format.
Yeah.
That format sucks.
Well, it's just people not wanting to lose their job.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's people protecting their own revenue source. That's all it is. It'll go on as long as they can. It's the most basic human desire to protect your family and your money.
And that's a thing that no one ever thought was going to go away.
And no one thought it was going to go away. And now it's going away. And the pace of it and the pace of change is disorienting. And people are like, what the fuck's going on? And, now we're in the Wild West. And the Wild West has its problems. It has a ton of benefits. We all know them.
Yeah.
A lot of information, but then the Wild West has a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And it's deep fakes. It's the AI stuff. It's what is and isn't real.
Yeah.
What did and did not happen.
Right.
A lot of charismatic, cunning people are going to be able to manipulate this technology and, rile people up about all manner of events that may or may not have happened.
Yeah.
Wait till they come with fake police shootings that didn't happen. Wait till they just start manufacturing footage from something that did not happen. Right. And there's people in the street rioting about a thing that did not happen.
How far away from that?
A week?
Because foreign actors could easily do something like that if they wanted to start some sort of
for sure.
chaos.
Dude, for sure.
Oh.
That's the type of stuff that you want to sow chaos. Stuff like that.
You could do stuff like that combined with
and people wouldn't,
a terror cell.
Yeah, and dude, people wouldn't believe that it didn't happen. They'd go, the government's covering it up.
Right.
They're saying it's right.
Well, there's so much confusion. That's the big problem with not having a main source of information that's reliable.
That's right.
And that people have to search around a lot. A lot of people don't do it. They don't search around.
Just make it InfoWars.
Nah.
Just make it InfoWars. What's the worst that could happen? Just if we got to do one, he's been right enough of the time.
He's been right more than CNN.
Just have it be InfoWars as our national news. That's our BBC.
I mean, if you think about what they did, you think about what these governments in conjunction. What is this?
He's back on Twitter.
Yeah, I was just saying that.
He's been tweeting all day.
Oh, yeah, he's back on Twitter, but he also has a new show that he's doing.
Right.
At the end of the day, he's going to do, after he does his main show, he's going to break down all the different things that they talked about.
What I'm going to do
what's going on in the news.
is when I'm on that next week, I'm going to be I'll FaceTime CAA, all my agents, and go, hey, because the thing is, they can't even get rid of you anymore because they just need you to sell tickets.
When you and him were on the podcast, it was one of my favorite times.
It's
ever.
One of the greatest things I've ever been a part of and done. And I think it's like this iconic moment of encapsulating the world at one of the wildest times ever, before an election, before a contentious election.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah. I mean, it was an amazing time. In the red pill.
The old one.
The old studio.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
It was a good time, and he was great. He was really sharp and really...
The fucked up thing is how many things he was right about. Like when he's talking about polio being something that kids are getting from this vaccine in Africa. They had to stop giving it. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Then he pulls up this AP story. Like, holy shit.
Well, all the people that he calls out, listen... We always talk about this stuff, right? He infiltrated Bohemian Grove and stuff like that. It's like, it's blatantly obvious to everybody that all of this secretive, whatever you want to call it, whether it's you want to say deep state or whatever it is, they don't want anything they're talking about out there. The real rationale for the decisions that are being made, they don't want out there. They don't want that out there. That's why Harvard and Yale and these places exist. That's why all of these secret societies exist. They're all groups that create loyalty amongst a group of very, people that could be very powerful, certainly are usually very rich. And that's why all these things exist. And then this guy comes around and breaks into one of them with cameras and shows all of those people in cloaks mock sacrificing an owl or whatever, or mock sacrificing a child. I think the effigy of a child with a big owl, it's creepy. It would be creepy if those people were all broke. Not only are they not broke, they're the most powerful people in the world. It's doubly creepy, right? Even if it is just a big orgy, whatever the hell they do, there's a lot that they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
And the fact that guys like him are out there, that is unsustainable. They don't want that.
No.
That's not good.
I remember something I was going to talk about before, but you were on a rant. When we're talking about people existing in these AI realms.
Yes.
That this is probably are people going to get indicted for crimes that are committed in virtual reality. What I was thinking is these things are going to be run by the same kind of companies that run YouTube.
Yes.
Right? And now imagine the restrictions that YouTube puts on content.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube would take you off if you had anything that didn't go with the COVID narrative.
Right.
They'll take you off if you have anything that doesn't go with the gender narrative.
Yep.
They'll demonetize you. They'll limit your reach. They'll shadow ban you. They'll do whatever the fuck they want. Now imagine if that is life. Imagine if most life now takes place in some sort of a digital realm that's owned by a corporation.
Yeah.
And then that corporation decides to impose its ideology on all the people that exist in that realm.
Well, it's also like one of the things that was interesting in this book was when does a crime start? So this is very interesting.
Ooh. Does it start with a thought?
That's right. At what point does a crime
When can we
start?
stop it?
Because we have all this metadata showing kind of what you are. We can create a composite of you and what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
When can we stop it? These are all very interesting things that are going to come up, that are coming up right now. And these are debates that are going to have to be had as more and more of our life exists on these virtual platforms. This is only the beginning, right? Like we're still in the infancy of like what this is all going to look like.
I don't think we can even guess.
Right.
I think it's going to be so fucking bizarre so quick. And the thing is, if we get hit by something like whatever took out the ancient Egyptians and civilization, if we get hit by something, there will be no evidence. Everything's going to be on hard drives.
That's right.
You're never going to get it.
That's right.
No one's going to know what the fuck Aristotle said. No one's going to know.
Someone's going to go, someone wore this coat.
Yeah.
They're going to find this coat. They're going to go, they were wearing this.
He had a spear and he wore that and he hunted seals.
Right. Little did they know.
They're never going to read the work of Feynman. It's all going to be gone. The books are going to be incinerated.
It'll all be
hard
gone.
drives will be rotted out, and
It'll all be gone.
And we're going to have to do it all over again. And I think that's what they did. I think that's what people, when you look at ancient Greece, I think those are the people doing it all over again. And I think the real people that did it at the first were the Egyptians. And whoever was around at that time that didn't have those insane monuments. But what we know that they did, that's like the best evidence you could ever have in front of your face that there's a piece of this puzzle that's missing. Look at that.
Definitely a big piece of the puzzle that's missing, and it is interesting to think about because it's about 2024. If you look back at 2014 and look at the changes to our society in 10 years, expedited by the pandemic and things like that, right?
Yeah.
You imagine 2034, it's going to get wild.
Oh my God.
It's going to get wild.
What is that going to be like?
Is it going to be where
Christ.
me and you are able to meet for coffee in a virtual world of our choosing?
Most certainly. That's
like
already
things
happening.
like that. That's already happening.
That's already happening. The Lex Friedman, Mark Zuckerberg podcast they did was insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. They look exactly like them, and it's just avatars talking. The eye movement, lip movement, everything. They're wearing these goggles. And
So that seems to be coming.
that's 100%
That's
coming, and it's
coming.
going to streamline. It's going to be small, and then it's eventually going to be in your body. And then when
Right.
it's in your body, you're going to have the ability to be anywhere at any time you want and not
Right.
really where you are.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. And then also communication with people of all these different languages instantaneously. We'll have a universal language or we'll have instantaneous translation to the language of your choice,
Yeah.
and there'll be no confusion anymore.
It's going to feel silly that we were debating whether the background actor who was a hot dog guy could be reproduced, right, without his consent. Like,
right.
And I understand why we got to have all those discussions, but things are going to get so crazy that we're going to look back at that and go, oh, that was quaint.
They're doing this. There's a dam and it's leaking, and they're doing this with their fingers, and it's not enough. That thing's going to come down, and I don't think there's anything we could do about it. I think AI actors are inevitable. AI films that are amazing, that are entirely designed, written, performed by AI. I think it's inevitable. And I think when the first one comes out that's a fucking banger, we're going to be all on board.
Because you can fail with...
What is this, Jamie?
Have you seen this commercial going around
No.
recently? I'll play it for you. It's pretty interesting.
AI pin.
I've seen it on TV a lot over the last few days.
So it's a pin you carry with you instead of having a cell phone.
Right, you wear this.
Isn't life about what we
And
experience?
there's multiple companies
What
with
we
these out right
smell.
now.
Can I eat this?
Yes, dragon fruits are low in sugar.
What we hear?
Hey, what should I get here?
我在这里该点什么呢？ What we see?
Yeah.
So this is sort of like
Right. Right.
between
That,
self-
but wouldn't it be
becomes a
nicer
chip.
if that
Just
was
put
embedded
it-
in
just-
your wrist?
Just give me the chip.
Yeah,
And by
give
the
me the
way,
chip.
human to human experiences when it comes to customer service and things like that, they've been declining because everyone's so used to the internet. Like people are like person to person. You walk into a store now, people are running away from you. They don't want to help you.
This one
It's
right here.
better. Let's just do this.
Play songs from the last time we were here.
So she said play songs from last time we were here. It's recording stuff all day. And
Oh boy.
translating it and putting in some sort of file so they can go and reference it.
Oh,
when
the
you need
NSA
it.
is going to get you.
Yeah, you could ask it to recall stuff. Like what was Tim saying yesterday at 2:00? And
Oh,
it'll, like
Well, don't do
pull it back
that.
up.
Don't do
fun,
that.
Fun times.
2:00 was a rough
Yeah,
hour
there,
for
there
me.
will be no more secrets. In
No
the future,
secrets.
there will be mind reading will be everywhere. You will never get away from your thoughts, other people reading your thoughts. Everyone's going to know how much money you make, where you live, everything about you. It's going to get fucking squirrely.
It's your life, but for everyone. It's like the life of a celebrity where people know those things. Because
but way
people
more.
write
They
about
will know your thoughts.
Yeah, it'll be
at
intrusive.
every moment.
It'll be intrusive.
Intrusive. I mean,
Intrusive.
there's going to be people that decide to opt out, shut it off, but then I guarantee
Then
you
you're
the
not
people
going to be
that
able to go to the Christmas village.
Wow, they won't
like
let
it's
you
going to be the
fly.
holiday village.
you probably can't fly.
Yeah.
unless you have a
They're
chip.
not going to let you do it.
I want to know if you're a terrorist.
Yeah,
Tim.
that's
You
right.
can't fly in this plane. What if I think you're going to take over the cockpit?
We're going to live in a time of certainty. And that's going to be scary because it does kind of take some of the romance, interest, like some of the excitement out of life is knowing everything.
And in the middle of all that, that's
Yeah.
when AI is going to just start running shit.
And start going, get ready. Isn't the fun of sitting across the table from somebody going, what's that guy or woman? Like, what are they about?
Right.
There's
Oh,
something
I like
interesting.
it.
There's
Obviously.
something interesting about it. You've done it more than anyone. Like to me, it's like if we just live in a world where everybody's thoughts are kind of available, it's good. It seems like.
I think it's coming, man.
Yeah, no. I don't doubt
I don't
it.
think we can stop it, and I think it's going to be the thing that transcends us.
Yeah.
The thing that moves us from what we are now into what we're going to become. I think it's going to happen technologically. I don't think it's going to
What do
happen
you think?
biologically.
Put a year on it. 2030? No,
I don't
no,
even think
no.
we have that much time.
No.
I think we have a couple years. I think we have a couple years before things get real strange because I think artificial general intelligence is going to emerge. And when they start implementing it, and if they decide to implement it in government, that's when things are going to get really crazy.
Right.
If they can figure out a way to stop corruption through artificial intelligence, who's not going to be on board? If artificial intelligence can make all transactions completely equitable and fair and morally just and righteous and make an even distribution of government finance to take care of all the complex problems that
Well, that's
we have
when they'll shut
in
it down.
society.
That's when they'll go, "Man."
But if they can sneak their way in, if they could sneak their way in and run things. And then what if artificial general intelligence decides that eugenics is a really good idea? Because it's
Sure.
what we do with certain animals.
Yeah.
We don't let bad dogs that like to bite people, we don't let them breed.
For sure.
Yeah, what if that happens?
Oh, it'll happen.
It could get real weird, and I don't think anybody has any idea how weird, because I think we all just have to see. We have to see where all this stuff goes.
We have to see what happens.
And if artificial general intelligence, if they start using it to make better technology, wow, that's going to be quick.
Doesn't it feel like comedy will be one of the last things, though, to get affected?
For
or no?
the biological humans that remain, the last days of their lives, they'll be chuckling and drinking and smoking cigarettes and
Right.
trying to avoid cancer. And then the new humans will take over.
And they won't want comedy.
They don't want it.
They're not going to
They don't
need
care.
it.
They're not going to care. They can just be happy anytime they want. They're gonna be able to
Do you
manipulate
think you'll
their
ever
own.
interview an AI bot?
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think there'll be someone sitting there like that lady
Whoa.
from fucking Ex Machina.
That's
that, like,
crazy.
Flirts with me, and I become
And you'll be like,
enamored
thanks
with
for
her.
doing this.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, guarantee you.
That's a crazy thought.
That Ex Machina movie is so fucking. It's so
Trippy.
perfect for right now. Go, please. It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
I've watched that movie at least 5 times. Someone listening to this, go watch that fucking movie because that's coming.
That's coming. I love the end of it. I won't give it away. The end of it's creepy. And you're going, oh,
it's amazing.
Wow.
The whole movie's amazing.
It's amazing.
The guy who plays the dude from Star Wars that plays the genius guy that invents it. What's that guy's name?
But maybe we need this. You know, if we're just going to fight about Trump forever and, you know, like maybe we just.
Oscar Isaac.
Maybe a couple of bots.
Maybe
throw a bot or two in.
This is the last gasp or biological existence, the Trump election.
It's so funny that you're probably right, and that's what we're doing. It's like the last thing human beings can do is yell about Donald Trump.
Yep, this is it
on these apps.
Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping.
This is the last human leaders we have.
Yeah. All right, Tim Dillon, I love you.
Joe Rogan,
you're the fucking man.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, brother. We're gonna have fun tonight.
Yes, all right. I'm excited. Thanks, buddy.
Everybody. Watch Tim Dillon's show. It's fucking amazing.
Thank you.
Podcast incredible. Netflix special. Everything.
TimDillonComedy.com for live tickets. It's me and AI.
Let's go.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.